Hello and welcome to the virtual recreation of Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari, more commonly known as Imola. It is a wonderful, wonderful night to be here with you for race 3 of the Sprint Cup here at the Sim Grid, a circuit mired in history and tradition. It's made legends and unfortunately it's taken legends as well. Dating as far back to the ancient Roman times, we are going to see some gladiatorial battles out on track ourselves. It's David Christie alongside Alex Goldschmidt for the Sprint Cup, and so far this season, Alex brewing away very nicely with H3 Racing, leading up the leaderboards after this early stage. Slow and steady so far, with 2 third places, our 2 race winners down in 4th and 5th place.
Good evening, David. Good evening, everybody. Yes, but it's not all decided yet. We're at the halfway point of the season. A fantastic track established back in 1953. Looking at the top 3 coming into this round, you've got the likes of Excel Racing by Rennwerden. So that's 2 Ferraris leading the pack after just 2 rounds. iForSpot.com, the leading Porsche in the standings, a further 10 points behind. But here I think is where things could really change, and we're going to get past that halfway point as we'll head to the Hungaroring in a couple of weeks, David. This track is going to be technically demanding, eyeballs on stalks, and drivers have to have their A game with them tonight.
They certainly are. As we said, we've got another 3 rounds to go after tonight. Hungaroring, Zolder and Suzuka. But we turn our attention, of course, to tonight because it is still the very early stages of the championship. This is going to be the 3rd round of 6. And early pace comes from the BMW. That is your little sneak peek into how practice is going at the moment. But without further ado, it's time to have a little look around the circuit here at Imola.
Here we are at Imola, also known as Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari, and better yet, it's in a Ferrari, the 488 GT3 Evo, as we go on board for a hot lap here. Just over 3 miles in length as we are pushing well over 260 kilometers an hour before the heavy braking zone through the triple apex here at Tamburello. Through the left, that's 2nd, and then pulling 3rd as you go through the 2nd apex, increasing the speed through the 3rd one before we head down towards Villeneuve, into 5th before the braking zone into the 1st part of it, the left-hander, down into 2nd before we start pulling up the gears again, up to 3rd gear. Down from 3rd at 180 to 1st at about 86 kph on the apex, going through Torza. A slight incline now as we make our way towards the left-hand sweeper that goes downwards here at Pilatera. Just under 220 kilometers an hour in 4th, down to 145 in 3rd gear for the rundown. A very committed corner this is here at Acqua Minerali. 4th gear at 192, down to 2nd for the 2nd part of it, about 105 on the apex. Allow the car to run wide to the left, but not to exceed track limits. Short run up now to Variante Alta, down from 4th gear into 1st, and keeping the brakes put on as you change momentum and direction through that chicane. 2 more corners remain here at this circuit, and then it's another downward dip in this 3.9 litre twin turbo V8 pushing at 700 Newton meters. 1st gear on the 1st part of Rivazza, accelerating up into 2nd, 120 kph on the apex, a little bit of correction to stop the car sliding to the right hand side, and it is the run to the line, 220 kilometers an hour, now up into 5th gear, and that is a hot lap here at Imola.
The 3-mile circuit here at Imola providing a tough, challenging and gruelling physical feat for these drivers over the course of the race tonight. And Alex, so many talking points about the circuit, obviously, as qualifying has just got underway. We'll give them a lap or so to get heat into the tyres, but the likes of Tamburello and Variante Alta really going to be key focal points and possibly big overtaking points tonight.
Yeah, very much the case. I mean, getting a run coming out of Rivazza, the double left-hander at the end of the circuit, David, is going to provide really, really good racing. You know, we could see 3 abreast going into Tamburello, and that's a 3 apex corner. Back in the day, it used to be a flat left-hand sweeper. Also, there's some changes on the grid. We actually have to welcome the Unicorns of Love in the number 14 Mercedes AMG Evo with Lars Kisser, who actually won at this circuit last season in the Endurance Cup, and he's joined by a very well-known person that has actually raced on the initial Super Saturday, Tobias Grönwald, and there he is out in that wonderfully striking black and purple livery on that Mercedes. But yeah, there's you know, you've got to be fully committed. I mean, especially coming out of Piratella down into the double right at Acqua Minerale. You know, you're pulling 4th gear. You then got to go hard on the brakes, downshift a couple of times, and then rotate the car. And that's going to be the biggest testing point on the circuit. I think that's possibly where we're going to see some people going for it and maybe coming out of it the wrong side.
Well, that's a bold prediction. Unfortunately, I think you're absolutely spot on with that one. Weirdly enough, Piratella is a corner that I definitely struggle with on this track. It's very much the case that you have to try and get out as wide to the right-hand side and just allow the car to sweep in, but my lack of skills and expertise usually means that I end up onto that very wide runoff section on the right-hand side. We'll almost certainly not be seeing, well, maybe a little bit from Tobias Grönwald. Thank you for making me feel better about that. But the level of skill and competition that we've got on the Sprint Cup so far this season has been absolutely mind-boggling, with pole positions being settled by, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of seconds. But the BMW, again, throwing up a little bit of a surprise tonight with the early pace in practice. And given that there's so few of them, I mean, that really is a little bit of a warning shot to the rest of the field.
That very much is the case, because Niels Neujoks in the G2 Esports BMW M6, the only car, if memory serves me correctly, on this grid, has 0 ballast. They had an absolute disaster last time out at Misano. Not just them, but also Send It Racing with Charlie Crossland and James Parker, you know, both having incidents within the first couple of laps. Tobias Grönwald goes across the line, looks to be an invalidated lap time, but Charlie Crossland already on the pace, and he's put in a 1:40.437. Behind him is Jardier. Jaroslav Honzik in the number 39 Audi from Jardier Community. And he drops down into 3rd position as we have the 699, well, Niels Neujoks on cue, 15 thousandths quicker than Crossland in that BMW. And they've got a point to prove this evening, because if that BMW is handling that way around this circuit, you've got to fancy their chances in both quali and the race later on. But the McLaren of the UKOG 47, pairing of George Boothby and Mr. 47 himself, Niels van der Kerkel, you know, that car's got, what, 30 kilos of ballast? And that's still putting in decent lap times around here at Imola. And also, you've got to look at some cars that might have strategic weaknesses. You know, the Ferrari, known for its mid-engine 3.9 litre twin-turbo V8, pushing out around 700 newton meters of torque, and that is on a comparative with the McLarens. We're on board with Boothby at the moment. You know, he's heading down the dip under the bridge, going into Rivazza, the double left-hander, where you're going to go heavy on the brakes. And on the hot lap, we saw even going down into 1st gear. And it's about getting the traction out of the double left-hander, which gives you a real good carry of momentum across the finish line and into Tamburello, where, as I said, things could get rather hairy very, very quickly, David.
Yeah, and for sure, I mean, the other point about Rivazza is that essentially your run into Tamburello and the rest of the rest of the lap starts on that final corner, and it's very rare that we do have tracks that are so much, you know, importance put onto a good run out of that final series of corners, because it's so easy on the run down to Rivazza, maybe not so much on your own, Alex, but when you're side by side in a race, to try and outbrake the other car, end up outbraking yourself, and you've basically neutered almost half of your next lap. So it'll be very, very interesting to see, what is going to happen. I've got no doubt we'll see that several times during the race, but the early pace that we've got so far, Charlie Crossland for Send It Racing in the 699 Mercedes, 140.059. I mean, this is some real fast times coming in early as we see Ferrari beached, deciding to go and play in sandcastles just now, but Tobias Grunwald in the number 14 Mercedes. That's another really good looking car. You pointed that out earlier in the Unicorns of Love machine, but Niles Noyok's been pushed down 0.3 of a second in that G2 Esports 62 BMW in third place. Very good evening to everyone that is watching on YouTube tonight. To Alaric Insland, to Q, Fastic Turtle, Gregor Shills in there as well, Grant Campbell, Valerie Sumin. I also saw AKM Racing, and who else was in there? Jenny Kamugli is out there, all giving us a virtual wave tonight to the commentary box, and a very different virtual commentary box tonight, Alex, as well, because you're juggling real life and virtual duties this weekend.
Yes, I'm currently at Karting Inc., the home of champions. Obviously, I'm on karting commentary duty, but I can't miss Sprint Cup. Also, you talk about Alaric Enslin out with injury. So, for the first time this season, Taro have just Amir Hosseini behind the wheel. The Iranian has got to serve a 10-second stop-go in the pit lane before serving his pit stop. That's going to be an interesting mix because he's got to do the whole 90 minutes on his own. Jonas Salvalainen from Griffax Engineering, stellar performance from them last time out, right from the back of the grid, and they really showcased what is capable in the 77, and they're currently P5 at the moment behind Jardier. And I'm really impressed with Jardier because, he's the most lovable sim racer we all know. I mean, especially when his dog decides to jump on his lap and whilst he's on the sim. But Honzik is on a mission. He's less than half a second behind Charlie Crossland. So we have look at the top 6. 4 Mercedes, 1 BMW and an Audi. Who'd have thunk it here at Imola?
Yeah, for sure. I'm just, I'm slightly distracted writing this down. Alaric Enslin owes us one. He's basically bet that if a Mercedes doesn't win today, he's going to get an AMG logo tattooed somewhere on his person that I'm not going to repeat on stream. So I've just written that down. So that is now a legally binding contract, Alaric. We will hold you to that. But
it's not worth the paper it's printed on, David. You know that.
We'll see. I believe Alaric is a man of his word. He might be a Ferrari fanboy, but we'll see. But they're doing a decent job just now. 4 Mercedes in the top 6 right now, with that BMW of G2 Esports Niles Noyoks in third place. But you're absolutely spot on with that comment about Jaroslav being up in 4th place. I mean, that is a cracking lap, and that looks like an outlier because the next Audi is away down in 22nd place, but that is only 1.2 seconds off of the pace. And it's always such a weird thing to say, he's in 20th place, so automatically that makes you think, oh, he's rubbish, he's slow. But it's not the case at all. He's a second off of the pace. When I'm doing my sim racing, right, I'm like 3-4 seconds off the pace. These guys are split by a ridiculously tiny margin. Is just, and this is what I love about the Sprint Cup as well, Alex, is the level of competition is just so fierce. I mean, these guys and girls will be practicing day in, day out, putting laps in after laps, and it is just fantastic to see such a level of determination from these drivers.
Yeah, looks like there's a disqualification. Looks like Alex Johnson in the number 10 has been disqualified, possibly for a return to garage, I think. We'll have to wait for our oracle here on the sim grid, Michael Hamlet, obviously providing us with any information. But Niles Noyoks coming across the line in the BMW. That particular time it was a 1:40.254, I think. And that puts him on provisional pole position with over half of the session. A bit of a scruffy take through there from Jack McIntyre going through Variante Alta. And, the 27 drivers that have set a lap time, which has got that's got Pagardl in the 911, the MSR Liga Endurance team. The German is only 2.1 seconds. And we know that with the caliber in this field, David, it's anyone's guess what's going to happen over the next 9 minutes and 10 seconds.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I think you'd be a very silly person to put any bets on who's taking pole right now, because it is just too close to call right now. Especially what we tend to see as well is we'll get these drivers putting in their banker lap, and then they'll switch to like an extreme setup, a very, very on edge type of setup that is very, very nervous and twitchy, but gives you absolutely the nth amount of time that you can possibly get out of your car. It's that whole win it or bin it mentality that we see so often here through qualifying, but some huge times gone in so far, and the top 12 drivers split by just 1 second. Alaric decides to follow up that with saying if Merck doesn't win, he can also blame James Parker for making me get it. Well, that is that, ladies and gentlemen, that is how to win friends and influence people.
Well, actually, talking about people that are unable to compete in this race, obviously Gregor Schill, now Vishal Patel had a massive moment, and that's off of the first part of Rivazza, the first of the 2 left-handers, so a real shame for him. But Gregor Schill out with a load cell problem on his brake pedal, so Arthur Camara is replacing him once again, as Arthur and Niles Noyox took the victory in the opening round of the season back at a very, very sopping wet Snetterton. But here, the track temperature, 22 degrees there, 28 degrees, but there's clouds overhead. And we know for a fact that when it rains, it pours here in Italy.
That sounded awful like a commentary rain dance going on there from our very own Alex Goldschmidt, but it does make a very, very different complexion to the race, because not only that, but with how fast this circuit is, it just becomes an absolute nightmare in the wet.
Yeah, it does. I mean, one of the things that's really impressed me, George Boothby is fractionally ahead of Igor Ogorodnikov in the number 41 Lada Sport Rosneft Aston Martin. Boothby has got a massive amount of ballast on that car. They took second position. That nets them 30 kilos of ballast. And the biggest thing is, Amir Hosseini is fighting with 35 kilos, and he's doing this shotgun solo, so to speak, with no Alaric because of injury. Hosseini, if he pulls a really, really good result for Taro out of the bag in that McLaren, I will be very, very impressed. But when has Amir Hosseini not impressed us here on the sim grid?
That list is a very, very small list indeed, Alex, but you're absolutely spot on with that observation, because the 35 kilos of ballast is going to be a huge part to play in tonight. I mean, he very much handicapped tonight, just racing by himself, but then you look at the number 47 outfit and Niels van der Kekelt and George Boothby, they've got 30 kilos of ballast, and then you go to the BMW G2 esports team of Niles Noyox and Arthur Camara in that BMW M6. I think they've got a really, really good chance tonight, because with them being ballast free, it does mean that they have got almost free rein to put that power down. They're not going to be hampered with that BMW to the likes of, say, Manos Gerardis and Giannis Sakdis in the TF Racing 86 machine, because again, 26 kilos of ballast, it goes all the way down to what's that, about 10 kilos of ballast. So it does make a difference, but I don't think it's actually going to make as much of a difference as we think it is. But 3/1000ths of a second, ladies and gentlemen, the difference in times at the top of the leaderboard there. Crossland in the 699, 140.059, and then Tobias Gronwald in the Mercedes just at 4/1000ths of a second. Harry Spears in the 285 Sidemax Motorworks, he's half second up already. What can he do? P5, P6 is it? Comes across the line just now and invalidated. Well, that's serves me right for getting excited about that lap time. Jaroslav Honzik in the 39 Audi comes across the line. Noyox goes across the line. What's he do? 139.957, blows it out the water by a tenth, and that is huge margins at this late stage of qualifying.
Yeah, that's an impressive lap. I mean, we know the calibre of Noyox, who goes, rally crossing in the BMW going through Tamburello. Was that a way of celebrating a provisional pole position? I don't think that would be in Niles' repertoire there, but that brings out a yellow flag. So straight away, that's going to have a slight concertina effect with those drivers putting in a quali lap. There's 4 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Anyone can take this pole position. I'm going to sort of like, the dark horse, well, the unicorn one, that is, Tobias Grunwald, is only 3 1,000ths behind Charlie Cross, and those Mercedes are looking rapid. And when you look at it, both Crossland and Grunwald, they are running with no ballast, just like Niels Noyaux. And in terms of where, Jaroslav Honzik is at the moment, their particular car, you look all the way down through, they're running with, that Audi's running with no ballast. So the top 4 already have got no ballast, and that is really showcasing how performance orientated things are here at Imola. It is not going to be easy here in quali, but the race is a completely different kettle of fish altogether.
Surely is. Just a couple of minutes left to go in qualifying. 3.5 minutes left. Here is Igor Ogorodnikov. What a lap! He was in 11th place. That brings him up into 6th position. And Igor Ogorodnikov goes across line, does a 140.791 to take him 0.8 of a second behind your pole sitter. George Boothby goes across the line and instantly knocks Ogorodnikov down to 7th place there. But what a lap from him to come in from the cold of outside the top 10 to put yourself on row 3. That is a decent effort. But 2 minutes 45 left to go in this third round of qualifying here in the Sprint Cup at the Sim Grid. And again, we have to kind of take a breath here, because anybody could just snatch it away at the end here.
Yeah, one of the other things we have to factor in, Luke Whitehead out for H3 Racing in the 404, leading the championship standings coming into this round. They're on 28 kilos of ballast, and that Ferrari is proving to be a little bit of a handful. When you look at it, David, they've run with, this is the second successive race they have now run with 28 kilos of ballast. The Ferrari looks to be struggling when you put that additional bit of weight ballast on it. And, I think it's about how the damage limitation strategy that both him and Hermada Erquizi have got to put in over the hour and a half race is going to be something interesting to watch. Is that going to change the virtual championship? What are we going to see at the end of Imola? It's anyone's guess. GT3 racing at this circuit, as I said, it's tough, it's technical, it's fast, it's aggressive, eyeballs on stalks. I'm really looking forward to when we go green, David, because no one can predict, let alone you and I, what's going to happen.
And that is one of the joyous parts about both this circuit and this current lineup, this field of Sprint Cup racing. It's absolutely fantastic. Just to remind you about the pit stops tonight, the pit window opens with 50 minutes of race time remaining, so that's 40 minutes into the race, and then the pit window closes 10 minutes after that. So with 40 minutes race time remaining, the pit window closes. The pit stops can be completed out of the pit window, but they don't count as that mandatory pit stop. So you can pit as many times as you like, but obviously only the pit stops taken within that 10 minutes count as your mandatory pit stop. During that stop, the tyres must be changed, and if both drivers don't drive the stint, Alex mentioned it earlier, 130-second time penalty. So that is a 2 minute 10-second penalty if both drivers do not drive the stint. And of course, we've at least got one driver that is going to be getting that tonight in the way of 92 Tyro's Amir Hosseini. Isn't it kind of something though, Alex, when even though he's racing by himself, and even though we know that he's got that that penalty coming, and even though we know that he's got the 35 kilos of ballast, we're still like, oh well, what can he do? Normally with a lot of other drivers, you'd be like, well, that's kind of game over, but you just never know with Amir, do you?
Amir is always full on the throttle, as we see a bit of a spin there for Andrea Benedetti in the GT-WR99 Ferrari. That was coming through the exit of Acqua Minerale, I believe. Yeah, I mean, Hosseini is a known quantity as the Czech is out for qualifying. I mean, looks like Salvalainen is definitely putting on, he's actually on a very good lap at the moment. He's now making his way through the right-hand sweep. A good carry of the momentum through Piratella, and now down into the double right at Acqua Minerale. Hard on the brakes, down to second. So Salvalainen climbs the slight ascent there, going through in towards Variante Alta. He's the last one on a really, really good lap at the moment, but Niels Noyaux at the moment has nearly sewn it all up, as that was a bit of a cut there for Salvalainen. I'm not too sure if that's going to invalidate his lap time, but he's just got the double left at Rivazza to negotiate. So towards Zillow in the number 7 car, that's the Carbon SimSport Blue McLaren, has just gone P7. Carly Atkins in the 37 Mercedes has gone 9th as Salvalainen decides to abort that lap, and it was up.
Yeah, that's a very, very unusual, but there you go. Niels Noyox then for the G2 Racing esports team, the BMW, Niels Noyox and Arthur Kammerer taking pole position then. That BMW is fast. They've got good championship standing at the moment with that 4th place in the championship right now. I mean, that is a wonderful, wonderful start to their Race 3 credentials. There you go, confirmation. Niels Noyox taking pole from Charlie Crossland, and 4th place in the championship versus that is going to be 7th place in the championship. So big points on offer tonight. Tobias Gronwald in 3rd place, Jaroslav Hontig in 4th, George Boothby in 5th place, it's Unisalv Leinen in 6th, Marius Tvorzilo in 7th place, Igor Ogorodnikov in 8th place, Callie Atkins in 9th, and Chris Sever in 10th. We'll take you through the rest of the drivers as we go through the grids. But Race 3 for the Sprint Cup, just moments away. Alex, what are we expecting tonight then?
Fireworks, David. That's all I'm saying.
And not just at the ends.
No. We've had that in both Snetterton and Misano, and to be honest with you, it has blown the championship wide open. No one's been given an affordable chance to relax. No one's been able to say, yeah, we can really, really go into this full guns blazing, lick the stamp and send it. The biggest concern that I would have if I was a team would be H3 Racing, because straight away, when you look at where they qualified, 17th on the grid, it's going to be about damage limitation. I said that earlier, we're about 4 minutes away, but the big thing is, the danger now is that can G2 Esports take a commanding victory and really put themselves back into the championship fight? However, the success ballast goes round by round, not by the championship standings. And you look at it, that Tauro, 35 kilos, where did Amir Hosseini qualify? Is the biggest question that I need to ask right now. And it's down in 16th.
Yeah, that's sure. So there we go, just outside the top 10 then. Jack Noller in 36th position. It's then Thibaut Prost in 12th. In 11th place for Jack Noller and Thibaut Prost in 12th. Nick Babin in 13th and Harry Spears in 14th. It's then the number 214 of Christopher Streppen in the 15th position. Alan Kinsland in 16th place. And then it's Luke Whitehead in the 404 Racing 17th position. Lucas Kreuzer in 18th position. Then you've got the 289 of Maximilian Vedi in 19th place. Patrick Pignon in the Audi, I love that name, in 20th position. Jan Kaminski in 21st. It's then the number 16 of Felix Rupert in 22nd. Jarno Kalsch in the 911. Again, I do really enjoy that team in 23rd place. It's then Zahir Essa in the 777 Ferrari in 24th. 25th for Manos Gerardis in the 86 Ferrari. The Porsche 111 of Florian Becker is in 26th. 27th is Jack McIntyre in that McLaren, struggling at the back of the grid there, and showing at the back of the grid is Vishal Patel and Alex Johnson, but we will wait to see them actually taking part. So just to bring it up to speed, ladies and gentlemen, the running joke at the moment is that our very own Alan Kinsland, who is out due to an injury, I still have to find out how he's managed to come a cropper, but has promised he's getting a tattoo if someone other than a Mercedes wins tonight. Alex, what do you think the odds are on that tonight?
Well, it could be either the Four Rings of Ingolstadt or the Bayerische Motorwerk from Munich. So it could even be a McLaren. So, the very, very famous logo from Woking itself may be tattooed on somewhere indiscriminately placed on his person. Let's put it politely. But yeah, I think, coming back to this grid, we've got 29 teams. Amir Hosseini, in some respects, you mentioned about the 130-second penalty if both drivers don't complete the race. You look at it from this perspective, Amir Hosseini He's only got a 10-second penalty, and it's a stop. And it's basically he's got to serve that in the pit box before he can get the tyres changed, and the tyre change will be around about 30 seconds. So don't count out Hosseini. I'll be very, very impressed if he can get into the top 5. If he gets towards the top 3, well, that would be something to shout the doors down with.
It certainly will be. I'm just also a very unusual situation. The top 3 championship contenders, H3 Racing, XL Racing by Renvelton, and Elfer Spot. The leading car out of that right now is Luke Whitehead in the 404. He is down in, I believe that 16th position or something that he's in? 17th.
Yeah, you look at it, Felix Huppert starts down in 22nd, and then Florian Becker, he's all the way down right towards the tail end. He's actually on the outside. Oh, he's on row 13. Row 13, that's 26th position. That Porsche has got to do its level best. And also, one of the biggest things, apart from ballast, weight of the cars. The Porsche is the heaviest car on the grid, David.
It certainly is, and the pace of it has been massively compromised at such a high-speed circuit. Ladies and gentlemen, strap yourselves in, get your popcorn at the ready, get your fizzy juice, settle down with your favourite blanket, because this is about to get real very, very quickly. Formation lap underway. Confirmation then of your top 10 again. Niles Noyox in the 62. BMW leads round the cars. It's James Parker in the 699 Mercedes, followed by Tobias Grunfeld in the 14 Mercedes. Jaroslav Honzig for the Jardier team in the 39 Audi in 4th place. 5th place Neil van der Kekel. 6th place Jonas Savalainen. 7th place Damien Paulos in the number 7 McLaren. Decent result for them because McLaren's not doing too well, but in 2 in the top 10 just now. Yiger Ogorondikov taking 8th place on the start. Callie Atkins in 9th place in the 37 Mercedes, and Chris Sever in Godzilla, the number 81 Nissan GTR, rounded out the top 10. Let's go, and we'll just pretend that didn't happen, shall we, Alex? I didn't see anything there, did you?
Sorry, what?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Just ignore it. Just pretend.
I mean, one of the other things, that's a good qualifying session there. You know, he's partnered with Sasha Glatter at Black Hawk Racing. They had a great opening race. I mean, Sever was scything his way through the field. Do you remember that Glatter had a pit stop penalty, had a drive-through penalty, and I think it was, I'm not too sure, I think it was Glatter that was doing the first stint. He then handed over in the pit stop window to Chris Sever, and Chris Sever was an absolute animal. He came in, served the drive-through, and then went on an absolute rampage. And, to be honest with you, the Nissan, okay, it's one of the smallest in terms of engine cylinders. It's a V6 twin-turbo 3.8 litre engine. But that car can move, and once you've got that hooked up, maybe Chris Sever and Sasha Glatter could have a say in proceedings tonight.
Well, we'll have to wait with bated breath to find out. Beautiful camera angles, as always. A huge thanks to our production team behind the scenes of Mike Yao and Michael Hamlet, giving us all the awesome camera angles and audio-visual goodies that you know and love. And Michael Hamlet obviously providing us with all the very latest in-depth information that he can. The 295 has retired already. Their brake pedal has broken on that warm-up lap. That is Vishal Patel and Lucas Romanek. We saw, I'm sure we saw Vishal actually in qualifying with the car straight on after the barriers, and more brake pedal issues. So let's have a quick peek at the standings in just a second, just to confirm what we've been talking about, because the car's making their way around the final set of corners here at Ravata. But we get ready to go live then with race number 3 of the Sprint Cup Season 3 here at the Sim Grid. We go picture in picture. You can see further down the order as well, and I'm going to take my breath. I'm going to savour this, because I always get too excited too early here and completely forget that at Imola that it's a very long and a very late start finish line, because 9 times out of 10 in the past I'm thinking it's here, there's the line. No, it's not, it's actually around the corner. But we get ready to go green. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Because we are about to kick off 90 minutes of mayhem and madness You can see the line there, and Niles Noyox just inches closer to it. We get underway, and it's a cracking start where Niles Noyox gets the whole shot and sends Charlie Crossland back into fight with Tobias Grunwald, and they're all safely into turn 1. Huge moment further down though, but everybody on the brakes thinking better of it, and it's very nice to see that, Alex.
Yeah, well, Chartier just stole third position off of Tobias Grunwald with an audacious outside overtake going through into Tamburello. He absolutely nailed that Audi to the tarmac and let fly, and that just gave and it looks like there's been a massive moment, and that is going in towards Toza through Villeneuve. And there's an Aston Martin here in the barriers. That's the NSN racing car. So that's a real shame for them, but they're still back onto the circuit. That's got Christophe Verstappen from Belgium behind the wheel. He's now got to get back on the fight back trail. But also one of the things is that even if you have an early drama in this race, as long as there's not too much damage to repair here, David, you can still claw places back, because, you know, there's going to be those opportunities where people will be battling out up and down the order here at Imola. And with the halfway points here, as we now see Charlie Crossland go toe-to-toe with Niles Noyox as they head into the double left-hander at Rivazza, as I've just been hearing that they're... Oh, now I've just heard that Sidemax Motorworks, which is the 285... Did I just hear the 404 was involved? That is
Luke Whitehead.
H3, the leaders. It's happened for the same second successive race on the very first lap or so. The leaders have been, in the championship, have been involved in a contretemps or a collision that might not be of their making, as Luke Whitehead now rounds out the top 20. But look, Jardier hunting down Crossland and Noyox, and Grunwald, what's more, is going with them. And with 2 minutes completed, David, there's a four-way scrap here for the lead here at Imola.
Yeah, it's a full-on war going on right now, and Charlie Crossland right in the middle of it, because he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't right now. He's trying to catch on to the tail of Niles Noyox, and that BMW just taking a lap or so to get the tyres online, to get them to their optimal state. And now that he's done it, he's pulled the pin, opened up 0.3 of a second. That gap actually was half a second on that original lap, so crazy stuff. But Jaroslav Honzig, as Alex pointed out, they're doing a great job to hold on to the back of that. Luke Whitehead on the verge of being absolutely mugged. That's Vedi round the outside there, Maximilian Vedi, and the P5 right now. That is just so much of like a cork in a bottle. That's Jonas Savalainen in that 77 Mercedes, 5 seconds behind P4, and yeah, something bad's going to happen, because our drivers here aren't known for being all that patient.
Well, hang on a second. 5-second penalty is just showing up on the tyre. Yeah, this is the 10-second penalty. For those wondering, it's not for an incident for Amir Hosseini. It's the 10-second penalty for being the solo driver. The first one, as Christophe Verstappen in the 214 NSN Aston Martin drops all the way down to 28th position. Oh, someone's gone off the track, and that is the Griffax engineering car with Jonas Salvalainen off at the first corner in Rivazza. That's the final double left-handers here at the circuit. So again, we could see Griffax charge their way through the field, but I noticed a little bit of scuffing on the front bumper of that car.
Yeah, I wonder if that's not so much of a cork in the bottle anymore. I wonder if the cork has been sent well and truly flying, and the gravel trap would appear to suggest so. Johnson on the inside of McIntyre takes that place with absolutely no issue whatsoever. McIntyre's going to try and get that place round again on the outside, but it's never going to happen. We can see a move up the inside as Luke Whitehead under attack from Yannick Hamer in that Lexus. Gorgeous looking car from Yannick Hamer, but it's not to do. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but the leaders are away in front by, get this Alex, 6.2 seconds. 6.2 seconds over 5th place Daniel Ginchard in that 37 Mercedes. That is an incredible feat in just 4.5 minutes.
Yeah, keep your eyes on Christopher. He's actually closing to within 7/10 of Igor Ogorodnikov in the 41 Aston Martin from Lada Sport Rosneft as we go on board. Oh, bit of a bump over the curbs there, coming out of Variante Alta for Jaroslav Honzik from the Jardier Community Audi. as they head down towards the double left here at Rivazza. And Grunwald, if he gets a really, really good purchase, look at the amount of apex he took there through the first left-hander, and very close, keeping away from those slight sausage curbs on the inside of the second left-hander, as now the strength of this Mercedes, the Evo, has a 50 pound-feet of torque increase in terms of torque. Now the thing is that Boothby has got Igor Ogorodnikov, Chris Sever, you've got Nola in there from the number 36, that is GT Omega RPM Esports. Look, Boothby is struggling. Look, he's fending off Ogorodnikov, going through into Tamburello, and the Brit keeps ahead of Igor at this particular moment in time. But look how close Sever is. The gap is nearly 0.8 of a second between Ogorodnikov and Sever. Benedetti up there, Nola and Hosseini now up from 12th position up into P10.
I'm not sure about that. I think it's actually Boothby's that's the one on the charge right now, because he was down in 10th position just 2 laps ago and has made his way all the way up to P5 already. He was about, what, half a second faster than Igor Ogorodnikov on that last lap alone. So Ogorodnikov might be holding on to him, but Boothby certainly seems to have the legs on Igor Ogorodnikov right now, and he is making big roads in to try and catch up with that lead group. But I've got to be honest, I think it's too little too late. It's 8 seconds to catch up to 4th place, and that is just an absurd gap to do so early on in the race, especially since Niles Noyok's doing 140.854. That is qualifying pace, and that is about 3/4 faster than anybody in the top 4 and 2 seconds faster than 5th place.
He was 2.1 tenths ahead of Charlie Crossland in terms of pure lap pace alone. 1 minute 41.064 for the 699. You know, that car is absolutely flying. BMW's finest, as there is Felix Huppert, as he's got Tinko van der Velde in the 96. Side Max Motorworks Ferrari up the inside, and van der Velde does a great move up the inside there. And you've got Luke Whitehead in the fray now too, and he's trying to close in on the number 16 of Felix Huppert. So Huppert is literally struggling, as there is a quartet of Ferraris going toe-to-toe here on hallowed ground.
Yeah, awesome stuff, and loving watching what we've got unfolding in front of us here on the SimGrid Sprint Cup Season 3, Race 3, live here from Imola. An amazing race so far. Niles Noyok's out in the lead from Charlie Crossland and Jaroslav Hontig. We are still about, about half an hour away from some pit stops getting started. Oh, little look up the inside from Felix Rupert. That compromises his exit out of that corner, and that's going to leave him vulnerable to Luke Whitehead. But I've got to be honest, I mean, if I was Alara Kensland in the chat right now, I'd be looking up the yellow pages and finding some nearby tattoo shops.
I wonder if they do have them in South Africa. But yeah, I mean, you know, look at it from this. We've got battles everywhere, as you've got Maximilian Vedi closing on Luke Whitehead, who in turn is trying to close on Felix Huppert. And Tinko van der Velde in the 96 Ferrari has gotten ahead. There's Zahir Essa down in 25th position. We saw a great effort from the Sim Racing Masterclass driver and his teammate last time out at Misano, but they've got Jonas Salvalainen on the comeback trail. The Mercedes down in 26th position, and look, the 911 of Jarno Kausch from Switzerland is struggling. That Porsche, not only did they qualify down towards the back part of the grid, they're down in 27th position. This is not going well for the team that is currently, at the way things stand, they're on 37 points in 20th overall, as Whitehead again, you know, these Ferraris are struggling, and the Porsches, I mean, Becker in the 111 up to 15th position. The Porsches are not going to have a great time here at Imola, and neither are the Ferraris by the looks of things, as Kausch goes up the inside of Salvalainen. That's going through Tamburello too wide into the left-hander, and Jarno Kausch gets past.
Yeah, I wonder though if Salvalainen's just going to tuck into the stream there. You can see when the Aston's behind it, Salvalainen, that is Verstappen that is trying to catch back. Again, a terrible start for the NSN Racing 214 outfit. They're having to do a recovery drive, and a big recovery drive at that. And it's difficult to see, because obviously all of these teams, all these drivers put everything they possibly can into this race, and sometimes the cookie just doesn't crumble your way, and you can see how much that car is twitching on the exit, especially back there at Tosa. The car of Christopher Streppen in the 214 looking very, very difficult indeed. George Boothby though is in a whole other world of a battle right now with Ogorondikov. Bounces off the chicane, and Ogorondikov goes side by side with George Boothby. This is down into the final set of corners at Ravatsa. Ogorondikov gets denied from George Boothby. He's not going to take that. I can absolutely guarantee you that. And I'll tell you what, the Ogorondikov fan club has been very, very quiet in chat tonight. I'm sure if he gets this move done and sends it up into turn one, they will not be quiet for any longer. Side by side along the start finish line then. It's Ogorondikov on the inside to Boothby, and surely this is going to be, oh my goodness me, Ogorondikov backs out of that. Now that is unusual for two reasons. One is that I thought he had that move done 100%, and two, is this a more conservative and laid back drive for Ogorondikov?
I think at the moment, he's not. The first race at Snetterton for the number 41 Aston was not the greatest start to the season, and I think now the team have realised it's about consistency. As someone goes off track, and that was coming through Villeneuve there. But you could see that Boothby had the measure of Ogorondikov. But yeah, I think, well, it looks like we've got 4 cars under investigation. The 31 of Rutronic E-Racing, the 285 of Sidemax Motorworks, the 86 car, that's TF Racing, and the number 41, Igor Ogorondikov, under investigation from the stewards. And I'm wondering who's going to get a slap on the wrist first. It looks like there's going to be a penalty coming to Rutronic E-Racing. Well, as that's got Mark Balzer from Germany behind the wheel. Looks like a 10-second penalty possibly coming their way. But, this race, look at Christopher. He's closing on Ogorondikov. The gap was about 8 tenths. It's now down to just over 3.
That gap to the lead 4 as well is 10 seconds. I mean, that is just incredible. That from from P5 to the end looks to be about 17 seconds. That is absurd. I mean, you look at the track map on the right hand side and you see 2 races going on right now. Your top 4 who are at that bottom part of the map, and then you've got everybody else right now in that whole long snake of cars. Florian Becker for Elferspot.com, the 111 Porsche. Alex, you've been commenting on how much that Porsche is struggling tonight with that weight, and I've got to be honest, they just look like a sitting duck in that thing.
Yeah, Tinko van der Velde just absolutely sent it. There's been a penalty issue, incident between cars 96 and 31. That's Sidemax Motorworks and the number 31. That's Rutronic E-Racing. The latter gets a 10-second time penalty for avoidable contact. So already the slaps on the wrists are happening here, and I don't think it's going to get any easier for the stewards here, because look, you look at that train on the track map there. It's crazy that you've got Boothby and Ogorondikov leading it all. Luke Whitehead down in 19th and is now having to fight his way with Jack McIntyre. McIntyre already up into P20 in the 22 Rocket SimSport car there. These drivers are absolutely charging, and I don't think I think at the end of the day, now Ogorondikov literally absolutely tries to banzai up the inside of Boothby there, but he can't get it done. He's got to just really wait and bide his time. You're not going to have an easy time of getting past George Boothby or Niels van der Kerkelt for that matter.
For sure. 1 hour and 15 minutes left to go in the race, and I'm hearing some rather manic chuckling in the background, just echoing what I've been saying for the past couple of laps here. What is the reason behind the difference in pace between the top 4 right now and the rest of the field? You can't have. Oh!
Whitehead comes together with Felix Ruppert going through. Contact between the pair of them, and Whitehead, the championship leader, sent spinning on the exit of Tamburello. Oh, that definitely had drama written all over it.
It certainly did, and that's the championship lead pretty much all gone in the space of 2 corners there, and yeah, simple case, 3 cars into one corner does not go, and yeah, that is a big F for sure. Back to this battle though for Igor Ogorodnikov and George Boothby, and the more that he can't get past George Boothby in front, the more it leaves him vulnerable to Christie behind him in that 81 GTR. Not only that, but then look behind him as well. He's got Andrea Benedetti. We've got penalties coming in thick and fast. Boothby goes wide in the corner, hits the barrier, comes back on. Ogorodnikov takes that place with no harm done whatsoever to Ogorodnikov. But there's the confirmation penalty between the incident between cars 214 and 86. That's the NSN Racing car and the 86 of TF Racing involved in that one. And the penalties are going to be very much coming thick and fast here, Alex.
Yeah, one of the other things we've got to watch out later on in the race, David, probably within the last half an hour, watch out for track limit penalties. And as soon as you get 3 track cuts, you get the 4th one, that's it, you get a drive-through. And that could compromise things even more for some of the drivers tonight, David. As Ogorodnikov, that was a little bit wide coming out of Tamburello, but he managed to keep a hold of it and goes through into Villeneuve. But Christie right up the back bumper of George Boothby going through Villeneuve. That Nissan Godzilla is going for the kill, and it's a McLaren of George Boothby just up ahead as they go through Tosa. George Boothby, you know, I wonder, is there a possibility that with that weight ballast, is that starting to compromise the tyre degradation? As we're going to go to a replay now. This is from earlier, and this is the 214 as it was ping pong for Christoph Verstappen. That was between the 285. That was the Sidemax Motorworks Mercedes of Harry Spears, and on the inside of it was Amir Hosseini from Taro in the 92. And Hosseini at the minute is still running in P10. He's just under 4.5 tenths behind the number 36 GT Omega RPM Esports Jack Noller.
What's happened to Igor Ogorodnikov there? Because he was stretching his legs and comfortably heading off into the sunset, and now he's been caught right back up from George Boothby there. More penalties. Incident between the 77 and 41. Oh no. Drive through at car 41 for avoidable contact. Well, we didn't see that one. But yeah, that's unfortunate. The replay is coming shortly, Alex, but I'm almost lost for words. It's so disappointing given what we'd seen, the driving behaviour of Ogorodnikov when he was on our screens. That it didn't really add up, did it?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, there's quite a few people already, 3 teams already on the naughty step, unfortunately, within the first, 20 minutes of this race. I think this is going to be a difficult one to sort of like call when it comes to accidents, as it looks like we have, Luke Whitehead is in the pits.
Certainly is, but an hour and 15 minutes left to go, and we're all bracing ourselves from the Ogorodnikov fan club. Again, we'll have to take a look at the replay before we can even make comment on that one, because we've got no idea what the incident was. But obviously, Race Control have deemed it serious enough to get an immediate drive-through penalty. Now, what has happened to Charlie Crossland? Because now he's 3.2 seconds. He's actually fallen right back into the clutches of Jaroslav Honzik and Tobias Grunwald. So Niles Noyox is absolutely loving this. He is away into the distance, 3.2 seconds to the good. It was 2.4 last lap round. And yeah, a huge gap. And in fact, I've got to be honest, I think Honzik is going to have this very shortly. Right, here we go. This is the incident with Jaroslav Honzik. And moves to the inside of turn 1. They're side by side.
Oh, look, just keep your eyes on this. Now that's what caused the concertina effect, and that was towards Zillow. So you could see that, yeah, Igor Ogorodnikov going into the back of Jonas Salvalainen, and then that just actually punted off exit stage right for Marcus towards Ziedlow there in the number 7 Carbon SimSport blue car going through into Tamburello. And you know what? The thing is that the stewards have said that they were going to get tougher on specific incidents. And that just goes to show that one slight slip-up can cost you big time. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, yes, we are racing. Bit of a moment there for Crossland going through. Took a little bit too much going over the track limits for 2 wheels. as Honzik is closing him down as they've just come out of Aqua Minerale. The good thing is I'm really looking forward to seeing what Tobias Grunwald's going to bring to the party, because he's got the ringside seat. No one's out of the woods quite yet here, as they both, all three of them just negotiate Variante Alta very, very nicely there. We're going to go to another replay. Now, this is from what happened between Felix Ruppert and Luke Whitehead. Whitehead goes to the right-hand side, goes instantly to the left, tries to send it, late breaks. Ruppert turns in, that sends him off track, and then Yannick Hammer comes through, and slightest of touches, the Ferrari spins and ends up in the barriers, and I think that could be Luke Whitehead and Hamada Equizi's race done and dusted. That car is not out of the pit lane, so that's either a lot of damage being repaired or it's terminal.
Oh, and we've got yellow flags for the 77 and the 16. That is Salvalainen again that's been caught up in that one. They're just making their way. And Felix Rupert again caught up in some drama there. You hate to see it. You really, really hate to see it. And Ogorodnikov then coming in for his drive-through penalty. But here comes Jaroslav Honzik trying to go around the outside. That's into Toza of Charlie Crossland, and all this fighting is leaving Tobias Grunwald very, very happy indeed. They're almost bump drafting each other on the run up through that left-hander there at Piratella, and Honzik tries to get the better run, is on the run down towards Aqua Minerale. This is thrilling racing here at the Sprint Cup, because look at Tobias Grunwald all over the back now of Jardier. It is just incredible. Ogorodnikov now last because of that drive-through, and there is Tobias Grunwald having a look at the inside at Variante. Last place though, to give you some context, Alex, from 5th place he came through to do his drive-through, and you're in last. That is one heck of a penalty.
22 positions, David, to be more precise. So really, I mean, the thing is that Honzik has not started a Sprint Cup race. Valentin Barrier has been the one that started it for the Jardier community team at both Snetterton and Misano. So Jaroslav Honzik chomping at the bit, but you can see how close, well, firstly, how Crossland is pulling away on the straights, as Harry Spears now closing on Daniel Ginchard in the number 37 Mercedes. And now Harry Spears fancies a chance up the inside through the first left-hander here at Livatsa. Ginchard runs a little bit wide. Spears up the inside, neatly done by the 285, and a little bit of a love tap on the left rear corner of the number 37 Mercedes. But Ginchard again, I know him from karting, but he is very, very well accomplished behind the wheel of a sim. And now look who's just behind him. That's Becker in the 111. Oh my goodness me. Alphaspot.com really coming into this race, because they've got a pair of squabbling Mercedes just up ahead.
I think the other thing with just over an hour left to go, Alex, that we have to start focusing on now as well is pit stops. Because obviously in about, 17 minutes time, we're going to start seeing the pit stops coming in, driver changes coming in as well. I mean, what would you think is going to be the strategy call there? Are you going to keep your faster drivers to the second, or are you going to have them in first and just try and tide it over with the last of it?
It depends on the strategy, because, you know, you don't know how heavy these cars are being fueled. Have they been light fueled? Are they going to do an earlier pit stop? Is it going to be a later pit stop? You know, the teams that are going to be suffering with slower lap times. And when I'm looking down the order, just having a look at, Nowakowski in the number 25 from Carbon Simsport. He's running out the top 12. Hosseini looks like he's fueled for possibly a very, very long first stint. And that could be right at the tail end of that pit stop window. And you've got to look at it. That drive-through penalty for Igor Ogorodnikov cost him 22 places. You add a pit stop into that with a full pit stop. That's full, no driver change for Amir Hosseini. 10 seconds, he's got to stay there. Then the tyres get swapped. That's another 30 seconds in the pits. That could probably be well over the best part of 1 minute and 10 seconds that Amir Hosseini will have to start clawing back when he serves his pit stop. So if he's going for the longer strategy call, this could play to his advantage, because one of the biggest things is that apart from the fact that they've got 35 kilos of success ballast on that McLaren, if he fuels it longer, he's not going to have to put so much in to the car to get it to the checkered flag. And he could even have a little bit extra reserve just in case.
We'll have to see how that one pans out, but this is a cracking little battle going on. Maximilian Vetty fighting with Jack McIntyre and Zahir Essa in front and behind. Back up at the front as well. That gap for the leader now, 4 seconds over Charlie Crossland. But get this, the gap between first and fifth place, 25 minutes into an hour and 30-minute race, 21 seconds. I repeat, 21 seconds. I have never seen anything like that.
That's craziness. And when you look at it, the field is starting to spread out. So the other thing that we're going to have is, you know, some really, really great battles. You've got Jack McIntyre, Maximilian Vetty and Zahir Essa from the 777 from Sim Racing Masterclass. And then you've got Tsagnis just behind in the 86. You know, and then you got the 911 of Jarno Kausch and then Christoph Verstappen, who's now managed to get his way back up to 24th. And there's the Aston looking a bit menacing in the background, but it's all about just keeping, you know, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, not making any mistakes, because you want to go in to that pit stop, put the other driver in, get a new fresh set of tyres on there and just go for it. But also, the biggest thing is that the stop go 30. If you have a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane, that is going to cost you big time. We saw what Ogorodnikov had, and that's even worse than a drive-through penalty.
It certainly is, and I've got to be honest, I mean, I wouldn't write Ogorodnikov out just yet. We know that he is insanely fast, but we also know that his temper can get the better of him sometimes. However, that's not really going to be an issue, because in about 20 minutes' time, he's going to hand over to Grigory Ivanov. So again, it'll be a different driver in the mix who's fresh and new to tonight's racing, who may be able to make some fantastic inroads. Yannick Hamer in the 999 Lexus getting a drive-through penalty, so currently down in 17th position, but a drive-through penalty for ignoring yellow flags, and that's a manual penalty that's been given. And yeah, that's a bit of a in fact, no, that's not a bit of that is a very, very big slap on the wrist for Yannick Hamer.
Yeah, and also the dunce's hat has been thrown in for good measure to be on the naughty step. But yeah, that's how, you know, ignoring yellow flags, a big no-no. I've had it before where I've seen races being decided by someone ignoring blue flags or yellow flags, and that can cost you big time as well. As Alex Johnston now trying to close in on Yannick Hamer, but he'll be a little bit further down the road from Becker in the 111 as Jaroslav Honzik, and trying to keep pace with Charlie Crossland. Now, one of the things that I've noticed here, look, the front fog lights are on the cars of Grönwald and Honzik. It is looking a little bit darker out there. That cloud cover is coming in. There's no wind to speak of, David, but the cloud cover has stayed consistent for the first half hour of this race, and there's still cloud cover for the next 30 minutes as Amir Hosseini now has the number 25 of Carbon Sim Sports Michal Nowakowski right up his back bumper. So that's two 720S GT3s, and the biggest thing here, David, is that the 25 that's actually quite impressive. The 25 has some ballast on it as well. So Nowakowski's got a real good handle of that car, considering they've got less ballast than the driver in front. That is Hosseini, who's got the full maximum 35 kilos of ballast. And that just goes to show how much. Now I'm going to have a look at this, the last couple of, well, Hosseini did a 1 minute 42.2. Nowakowski, a 1 minute 47.775. That weight penalty in terms of Hosseini versus Nowakowski is costing the former about 0.3 of a second a lap.
It certainly is, but again, it just goes to show as well what an amazing job that Hosseini has done. Get himself up from 16th on the grid to 11th with that weight ballast, knowing that he's going to have that penalty as soon as he jumps into pit lane. But we're back on board then with the Jardier Community Team car 39 of Jaroslav Honzik currently down in P3, hunting down Charlie Crossland, but also defending from Tobias Grönwald behind him, and it's a little bit of pressure starting to creep in for Charlie Crossland behind in front, because that was two wheels on the gravel there, and that's going to have slowed down his exit from that right-hander there. But again, Honzig just doesn't have the grunt to get up beside him just now, but Grunwald looks incredibly menacing in that rear view mirror just in the middle of your picture here. This is the run down then to Aqua Minerale. The cars navigating it successfully for the 17th time of asking, up the hill, under the bridge, and on the run down to Variante Alta. And the Audi really struggling to keep pace with these Mercedes. It is an Audi Mercedes sandwich, and it's an expensive sandwich and a very, very tasty sandwich at the same time.
Yeah, one of the other things is what's keeping Jaroslav Honzik in this battle is the drivetrain layout. Mid-engined, rear-wheel drive, 5.2 litre V10 naturally aspirated engine. The Mercedes, also naturally aspirated, but has 2 less cylinders, but has 650 newton meters of torque at its disposal, let's say. So the mid-engine rear-wheel drive platform is helping the Audis. I mean, look, Mark Baltzar from Rutronic E Racing, he's closing on Jack Noller from GT Omega RPM Esports. So we have the two Audis on the grid in the top 10.
We certainly do, and an amazing effort, but that GTR into 6th place of Christopher, that's a brilliant job. But on that note, I mean, we've got the 2 Ferraris, but the 2 McLarens, I've got to be honest, I think the McLarens are going to come on a late charge here, because Balzer has got a 10-second penalty, so is Hosseini. But I honestly think Hosseini will be able to make short work of Balzer and get Hosseini and Nowakowski into the top 10. 4 McLarens into the top 10 will pretty much cause havoc.
Yeah, and it looks like Yannick Hammer from KEK Sim Racing is now serving the drive-through penalty, and he will come out behind Jonas Salvalainen from Griphax Engineering in the 77 Mercedes. Igor Ogorodnikov now up into P23 in that Aston Martin, the number 41 from Lada Sport Rosneft. But Balzer is really giving Jack Noller something to think about as they're going through into Piratella, the sweeping left-hander before the double right-hander. And this is what I love about this complex. You know, it's fast, it's ultra committed. You've got to sweep the car through Piratella, up the gears, up into 4th, and then shift down, and you've literally got to be full send in the first part of Aqua Minerale, but then you've really got to have the stones to put the brakes on, drop down 2 gears. You know, you're literally cutting off the best part of over 80 kilometers an hour on that case. Now look behind Mark Balzer. There is Amir Hosseini and Michal Nowakowski. These 2 McLarens are getting closer and closer. And now I'm just going to sort of, there's going to be something, I think, now, unsafe rejoin. Number 16, XL Racing by Renvelten. P2 in the championship gets a stop-go 30 for an unsafe rejoin, and that was an incident with Zahir Essa. So that is, the championship lead is now out. They've lost the lead in the championship. And the way things are standing, G2 Esports here, David, are going to retake the top spot after a dramatic race at Misano where they only scored 7 points.
And that is, it's such a big change, a quantum shift in the championship for sure. And again, at this early stage, we're coming up to the halfway point. It really does play some mind games with the rest of the teams in there to have, what was looking like a really, really good championship position almost neutered, and you have to do so much work to get it back. I mean, championships are won and lost on rounds like this, but Tobias Grunwald dropping off the back of Jaroslav Honzig by about 0.6 of a second there, but looks to be right back on him just now, because here comes Jardier in the slipstream of that Mercedes. That Audi looking so neat and tidy, tucked under the rear wing of Charlie Crossland. Is this going to be it though? They're side by side then, going on the run down towards Tamburello into turn 1. Has he done it right the outside? Jaroslav Honzig has to tuck in out of it, and that leaves him open and vulnerable to Tobias Grunwald. But that was, A+ for courage and bravery for trying to stick it round the outside. Wow, that was awesome stuff.
Yeah, well, you look at it from this perspective, he'd already done that move on Tobias going into turn 1 on lap 1. So Jardier knows where he can plant the car and really exploit its maximum potential. But look, Charlie Crossland has dropped in. The gap now just under 7.5 tenths of a second from second to third place. A little bit of dust kicked up going through into the run into Piratella. And as Jardier now coming under the advances of Tobias Grönwald. Grönwald's got to make a move decisively because we've only got 5 minutes until the pit lane window opens for the pit stops here. And then it'll be decided who is going to stay out for the longest, who's going to blink first. I mean, when you look at it with Niles Noyox, 7 seconds up the road from Charlie Crossland. Jaroslav Honzik nearly drops to nearly 9 tenths of a second behind, and Grönwald is nearly 3 tenths behind Honzik in the number 39 Jardier Community car. We're going to go to a replay now, and this is to do with Zahir Essa and Felix Ruppert. And that is going through, I think this is going into, that's down into Acqua Minerale. So Ruppert comes, oh, now that's rejoining. Oh, now look at this angle that he's taken. He's just gone in, spun in front of Zahir Essa, and he's been literally turned around. Look, Griffax Engineering, Salverlinen, what a save.
Oh dear, that is, that's really bad actually, yeah. I'm not impressed with that. That's cheeky to try and stay through the chicane, and then he's binned it by himself as well. That is, yeah, that's some high action racing. Right, what me and you, Alex, need to do is we need to raise our hands and wave bye-bye to Niles Noyox, who's now just decided to turn on the afterburners, and he's now 7 seconds up the roads. That is incredible pace. The BMW is just absolutely flying right now. I've got to be honest, at this early stage, with the pace that he's got consistently, is there anybody on this track that can catch him right now?
Not the way he's driving at the minute. He's consistently in the low 141s. So Noyox knows what he needs to do. And then when you look at it, remember Snetterton. Arthur Camara went into Riches at Snetterton and got a little touch courtesy of Charlie, I think it was James Parker was behind the wheel. He got a turnaround, and Camera, for some reason, ended up leading, then switched over to Noyox. Noyox just literally just ran away with it. And the thing is, we're seeing a reverse repeat in the fact that there was no first turn incident for the G2 Esports BMW. With that in mind, let's have a look at the updated standings if we can. For what's now look at this particular moment in time, BMW Team 2 G2 Esports will have a 24-point advantage as it stands right now, ahead of Send It Racing, and with the DNF for H3 in the 404, they round out the top 3. But look, look at 4th and 5th, David. Jardier Community and UK OG 47. Currently virtually tied on 110 points. 3rd to 5th looks rather enticing in the championship battle so far.
It certainly does, but at this early stage, Alex, I mean, that is some huge numbers in terms of points to make up over 3 races, and it really puts a lot of pressure on, say, teams from 4th down to 8th place if they want to make a move for the championship itself.
Yeah, well, watch out for Hussein. He's on a bit of a howitzer charge at the moment. He just put in on the last lap of 1 minute 41.8, and ahead of him, Mark Baltzer, a 1 minute 42.0, Jack Noller, a 1:42.4, and you can see, look, that McLaren's gaining. Hosseini, that car has started to shed some weight thanks to the fuel burn off in the first, close to 40 minutes of this race. Hosseini, that car's now going to start coming alive. And when that happens, I think probably a couple of minutes before the pit stop window closes, Hosseini will be in. And he's going to literally put the hammer down and just try and eke out as much performance as he can as we go on board. And look, Noller getting past. That is absolutely a standing performance from the Audi. Noller gets past. That's like candy off of a baby that Bounce has just stolen off of Noller. And here comes Hosseini, and that's on the run down to do. That's the McLaren, the 700 plus Newton meters of torque out of that 4-litre twin-turbo M840 designation V8 McLaren. Look, Hosseini's just putting it right up the inside of Noller, and he's like not as if there's a care in the world. And right behind them is Nowakowski. Look, it's too wide, heading down towards the stripe, and Nowakowski could
could get a really good tow. He does. Look, he's trying to make it nearly 3 abreast coming across the start-finish line. Craziness. Oh, Hosseini gets turned around. Hosseini gets turned around.
Oh, and that's a bad rejoin straight into the path of an oncoming car. That was Tinko van der Velde that got caught side on. Huge damage for Amir Hosseini. Tries to spin the car back on track, and that is an absolute disaster to happen. And I'm gonna. This is so difficult because my gut reaction is that car behind that of Jack Noller. I mean, the way, if that it was Jack Noller, I think that was behind, the way that car was jumping about left and right, he was just a passenger. He got spun. Hosseini got hit from the rear and pushed right round. So yeah, I'm absolutely gutted to see that. A huge drive, a huge performance snuffed out, and I've got a feeling that's going to be a massive penalty from race control.
Yeah, also the biggest thing, Hosseini's got to crab that car back nearly just over 2.5 miles. You know, that happened on the start-finish straight, so literally 3 miles for Amir Hosseini. The pit stop window now officially open. Hosseini's now got to repair that damage. Oh no, I think that car is so badly damaged. I'm not too sure if Hosseini's going to carry on. Look, the rear wing is tilting downwards on the right-hand side. He's literally having to stay out of the way of everybody and even having to go onto the grass. I think that damage could be terminal because that was a hard hit, not from behind, but it was the hit into the wall that not only tagged the front, but the rear end of that McLaren. And that McLaren can be so infinitely penalised in terms of damage when you get that kind of a turnaround, as we now see that Nodder and Van der Velde and Ginchard have now pitted with 8 minutes and 40 seconds on the pit stop window still to go.
Chat bringing up a very valid point about that car that smashed in of Tinko van der Velde, I believe it was, in the 96 Ferrari. It did look like Tinko was going just full race speed and hit into him. And again, we've seen penalties coming in for ignoring yellow flags. It's, I mean, he does just go full straight through. So we'll have a look. So Amir did also leaves himself open with that dangerous rejoin as well, because he decided to try and fire it back in, and yeah, he needed to be holding the brakes, get himself back on at a safe point. But as a driver, and being in that position myself, and I'm sure a lot of you can sympathise, when that red mist descends, Alex, it's very difficult to have that spatial awareness and that pause for thought, that patience to do so.
I mean, even if you leave it a couple of seconds, you know, you're going to be absolutely infuriated. I think probably a few unPCable, unbroadcastable words would be uttered from said individual. But yeah, you've got to have clarity when making sure you have that rejoin. But look, Charlie Crossland not out of the woods yet. Jardier swarming all of the back bumper of him, going through into Villeneuve. Oh, the Audi tried to go up the inside, and not on that particular occasion as they exit out of the corner. A little bit of curb in excess taken by Jaroslav Honzik, and Tobias Grovald looking up the inside of the 39 Audi. Oh, no gap there, unfortunately, for Grunwald from Unicorns of Love in the 14. Oh, this battle has got pull the pin on the grenade and throw it and see where it lands. We've got another penalty coming in, and Christoph Verstappen has just been hit with a warning for aggressive driving in an incident with the 911, and that would have had Jarno Kausch behind the wheel. But yeah, I mean, this battle here, it's about who blinks first, because Noyox is nearly 10 seconds to the good, and there's still 6.5 minutes of this pit stop window to go. Noyox, it's like a casual Thursday evening drive here in Italy, and what's more, he's in Munich's finest.
And I tell you what an exhibition drive he's doing right now, still in the 141 zeros right now. I mean, Noyox is just incredible pace. And hang on, let's hold the phones right now. How on earth has the number 41 of Igor Ogorodnikov got himself back into 14th place already? I know there's been a couple of cars, but that is an outrageous drive from Igor Ogorodnikov to get him back within even a sniff of contention after that drive-through penalty dropped him all the way to the back of the grids.
Look, I mean, just just coming back to this battle here, you know, Crossland, Honzik and Grunwald cannot be separated. Crossland gets a good getaway in the straights. Honzik good in the twisty stuff. Little bit of a twitch there from Grunwald coming through the exit of Villeneuve into the left-hander here at Tosa. Then the run up the hill. The Mercedes will stretch its legs. The Audi will do its best. But then when you get into the left-hand sweeper at Piratella, this is where the Audi shines. Just keep an eye on what Honzik does now. He takes a little bit more curb, allows the car to go to the right as far as he dare before any track cut is mentioned on the system software. And this is where the Audi's really keeping good pace. So what Honzik is doing is just trying to give the best position for Valentin Barrier to come back firing on all 10 of those V arranged cylinders on that Audi. You know, this is what has really kept the car in the fight. It is the best performing mid-engined rear-wheel drive car. And the second one to that is George Boothby, who, get this, is nearly 20 seconds behind Grunewald. But the biggest point here, David, Boothby's running in the high 1 minute 41.9s. Grunewald was a 141.8. Honzik, 142.219. And then you've also got Crossland. Oh, look, this... this just reeks. The war. The battle has. This battle has been concluded. The war is yet to come.
Love it. All of them into the pits at the same time, and Charlie Crossland just making sure that they stick to the pit lane speed limiter. So Charlie Crossland is obviously our appointed safety officer for tonight. We'll keep an eye on them picture in picture. Meanwhile, on the main picture, you see Nick Babin for the number 25 Carbon eSport team taking over from Mikhail Novikowski. Great effort that they had so far. One of the first of the teams to jump into pits just now. Sheldon Muscat in the number 36 GT Amiga RPM eSports team takes over from Jack Noller, but 43 minutes left to go. 3 minutes left in the pit stop window. And 30-second stop-go penalty for the number 10 of David Brancini for speeding in pit lane. Yeah, that's a good night to your race, isn't it? So just watching the cars come round. Oh, and they're almost side by side. In fact, they're into each other just now. It's going to get sorted out as they go out of pit lane. But the Unicorns of Love have jumped the two of them. What a move from the 699. That is absolutely inspired stuff from Send It Racing. James Parker takes over in the sorry. I was getting myself all confused there, all confused completely. It's the number 14 of Kisser, sorry, in the Unicorns of Love that does the jump. And I've got to be honest, that is absolutely sensational. What a stop from the Unicorns of Love. Time to perfection, and a brilliant move to get those two places. So here we go then, 42 minutes left to go, 2 minutes left to go in the pit window, and Alex, it's now pretty much game on, because Lars, on the back of Maximilian Verdi in the 289 Ferrari, but I mean, to get that jump done in the pits, that was unreal.
That was about a 1.3 second differential. You know, I think from my perspective that maybe the strategy from Unicorns of Love, look, now Lars Kisser is coming under fire from James Parker. Now that's a brave move. You've got to try and get up side there quickly. Parker's got to try and do something now going through Piratella as Vedi is just up ahead. As Vedi now decides, well, I'm going to get out of the way because I don't want to be involved in this skirmish. So this is a really good strategy call from Unicorns of Love. And they are now in effectively second position. But the biggest question is, there's just over 1 minute and 10 seconds left of the pit stop window to go. How close is Noyox to pitting and handing over to camera? Because this is going to be a last gasp and the last chance saloon, because obviously they need to get in there quickly and get the job done. As soon as they do that, then Arthur Camera can literally get away
Yep, that's them into the pits now. Niles Noyox takes that car into the pits to hand over to Arthur Kammerer. So he heard exactly what you were saying there, Alex, and decided enough was enough, brings the car in, and we will find out exactly how long they are in pit lane for. However, the recovery story gets even better for the number 41 team, because Grigor Ivanov in the 41 Aston Martin takes over from Igor Ogorodnikov into 19th position from last on the grid after that drive-through. That is one heck of a drive to get up into the top 20. Arthur Kammerer, though, for G2 Esports, you see it, picture in, picture here, leaves the pit lane to regain the lead, and it's almost certainly going to be a regain of the lead, because that was a very, very fast stop for the G2 Esports driver, as we see Lars Kisser into Rivazza. I think the gap has come down very, very slightly, but not enough.
That's getting close. Look, I mean, Lars Kisser has been on a binge of speed, as now Arthur Kammerer goes through into Tambourine. And this now gives the warning sign that Arthur Kammerer has not only got to bring it home, he's got to bring it home convincingly and not allow Lars Kisser, James Parker or Valentin Barrier to close. But with the gap being 27.4 seconds when Kammerer exited the pit lane, Lars Kisser knows he's got a fight on his hands, and he's got one behind him right now.
Yeah, he certainly does, and we've seen that being an issue through the early stages of the race, Alex, as well. That race behind you distracting, as we see Parker in the 699 all over the back of Lars Kisser in the Unicorns of Love number 14 Mercedes, and then Valentin Barrier taking over the Jardier car. But this is the number 81. Stunning effort from Sasha Glatter to get on the back of the number 47 of Niels van de Kekel in that McLaren. This is an proper ding-dong battle. The GTR moves to the outside, and a great move there into Tosa for Sasha Glatter of Blackhawk Racing. It's not going to happen though this time round. It's going to be into the toe and on the run down towards Peratella. They're side by side. The GTR gets forced wide by Van der Kekel around the outside. Can't make that work. He's going to have to dig in, because he's now got Timo Prost in the Ferrari behind him as well, wanting to have a little look, and this is all getting a little bit handbags at dawn for my liking. It's going to end up in tears before bedtime, and I've got a feeling that it'll be the McLaren that comes out to the worst of it. The GTR weaving from side to side, trying to take up as much of the mirror real estate from Niels van de Kekel in that 47 McLaren as he possibly can. But yeah, Van de Kekel gets him a breathing room, and Glatter now starting to have to think about Timo Prost and Pavlos behind him as well. There's Grigory Ivanov in the last Lada Sport Rosneft machine, catching up to Buncombe and Mooney as well. So again, could be another couple of places here, but that's already P17.
Great recovery drive from them, David. To be honest with you, Ivanov's got a real good than Martin. Okay, unfortunate that Igor Ogorodnikov got the penalty earlier on, but look, Ivanov closing hand over fist on Alex Buncombe as they go now towards the double left at Rivazza, and that's Mooney just up ahead in the 777 from Sim Racing Masterclass, a three-way scrap. Now that is between an Aston Martin, a McLaren and a Ferrari. What's more, it's on the latter's home soil.
Oh yes, and they would like it if they could have the upper hand, but it doesn't look like it's going to be happening for tonight. We'll watch as the race unfolds with the pit window closing. 36 minutes left to go in the third race of the season here at the SimGrid Sprint Cup. Dave Christie and Alex Goldschmidt bringing you all of the action live and direct here on YouTube. If you do like what you're seeing, as always, hit the like button, and if you could subscribe as well, that would be a massive boost for us. And as always, a huge thank you to our commercial partners at Coach Dave Academy, developing esports leading race setups, as we see Grigory Ivanov and side by side with Alex Buncombe in the 22 McLaren into Tosa. Has to think better of it there. A big kick of the dust up, and there goes Grigory Ivanov on the run up the hill. This is down towards Peratella through that left-hander as well. He goes very wide, does Grigory Ivanov, and that sets him right into the grasp of Lucas Kreuzer in that 96 Ferrari behind him, but I think that's only going to be a temporary setback because the pace that he's got is very, very fast indeed, and Buncombe just seems to be dropping away a little bit from Buncombe ahead of him. From Mooney.
Yeah, very, very true. But now, look, you've got a few other drivers really getting into pedal stations right now. Red alert as here at Imola. Richard Lindhorst up into 12th place in the 111, and he's closing down on Malta's Sheldon Muscat from GT Omega RPM Esports. And, good to see Mr. Super Saturday back in action as well. Marcel Fusi in the 285, rounding out the top 10. And he's about 6 seconds off of Nick Babin, who is 9th behind the number 7 Carbon Sim Sport Blue car. That's got Damien Paulus behind the wheel.
Now here is a bit of a monumental discovery, and thanks to Murph in YouTube chat for pointing that out as well, literally at the same time as I was to try and open my mouth about it. The gap from the leader to second place was 10 seconds before the pit stop. It was then 8 seconds when Cameron came out. It's now down to 5.6 seconds, and Kisser is catching Cameron by 1.4 seconds on the last lap. It's now down to 0.4 of a second that Kisser is catching up by. So Lars Kisser doing an amazing job in that 14 Mercedes. The Unicorns of Love could be saving Alan Kenslin's behind on this one.
Yeah, very much the case. And when you look at it from this perspective, Sasha Glad, again, just showing how capable that Nissan is. And in many respects, with 34 minutes on the clock still to go, I don't think Niels van der Kekelt is out of the woods again. But Thibaut Props, we've seen him in multiple events. Obviously, when he gets behind the wheel and he's at full chat, there's no stopping that driver.
No, there certainly isn't, and it's a great battle that they're involved in right now, because Thibaut Prost just behind them just now in that Ferrari, but Niels van der Kekelt having to fight tooth and nail right now to hold on to this position. It is a wild, wild race, and we've still got 30 minutes of unbridled action still to come, so do not go anywhere, because we thought this race was pretty much a done deal going into that round of pit stops. Anything could happen right now, because Lars Kisser has got James Parker all over the back of him right now in the Send It Racing 699. And I tell you what, Alex, that is not a driver that I'd be wanting to see in my rear view mirrors, because he is a very, very fast young man.
Yeah, very capable driver, and you can just see coming out of the final left-hander at the double left at Rivazza, James Parker trying to stretch the legs on that Mercedes, and now as they go across the line, this is over 250 kilometers an hour, they're going to pull 6th gear before the braking zone into Tamburello here. And on the brakes, look at the flames spitting from both side exhausts on that Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo. Parker looks a little bit more composed coming out of Tamburello, but Lars Kisser, no slouch in his own right, through into Villeneuve. They're hard on the brakes, into the left, now into the right, and it's dependent on who decides to take the most bravado in terms of track limits. So you can see now that the Audi behind the with the capable hands of Valentin Barrier is now slipping away. He's 3.2 seconds off of this battle. But one of the good things that Barrier will do, okay, he's not going to be on possibly the same pace as these drivers here, as I've just seen a couple of stop-go 30s there, David.
You certainly have. Lucas Kreuzer, the 96, getting a stop-go 30, and Nick Babin for Carbon Esports getting a stop-go 30 as well. We'll keep you updated when the reasons for that come through. But yeah, those are some pretty huge penalties coming in thick and fast as well. But James Parker, as you mentioned, still on the back of Lars Kisser there, doing a fantastic job to hold on. But Arthur Kammerer will be happy if he can keep that gap to 5.5 seconds right now over second and third place, because they're concentrating on that battle with themselves. But they're fighting it out tooth and nail, but they're not really costing one another all that much time right now.
No, Parker last lap around was nearly 0.3 of a second quicker, And across the line, gap now 3/10. Parker really in the slipstream. He pulled to the left-hand side of the circuit. They were nigh on equal that particular moment in time. A 1:41.379 for Lars Kisser, a 1:41.367 for James Parker, and the Brit is looking to fly that Mercedes at the earliest possible opportunity. Little touch on the dusty grass, courtesy of Lars Kisser coming out of Tamburello and heading into Villeneuve. As now Sascha Glatter is going to go wheel to wheel, side by side. It's Nissan versus McLaren. Sascha Glatter, if he gets round the outside, is he going to try and do it right now? Round the outside of Niels van der Kerkelt. Oh, they touch. Oh, they both go off, and right behind is Thibaut Probst. And Probst says, thank you very much. You two are just too kind.
Oh, some huge reasons coming in for the penalties. Right, the 96 of, let's have a look there, that is the Sidemax Motorworks of Tinko van der Velde. We mentioned about going full speed. Yep, he gets a stop-go 30 for ignoring yellow flags, and because of that, the 92 gets a drive-through for failing to hold the brakes. It's then a stop-go 30 for car 25, which is, of course, the Carbon Esports of Nick Babin for avoidable contact. So 3 monumental penalties, and that's 3 teams that are going to be now outside the top 10.
Yeah, very much the case. So now Thibaut Probst ahead of Niels van der Kerkelt, and it looks like Damien Paulus has actually managed to Sascha Glatter. There's Nick Babin just behind in the 20. I think that is Nick Babin. No, it isn't Nick Babin. It's one of the other cars. I think that might be the number 10 Ferrari. But James Parker still hounding. He's absolutely looking menacing behind the number 14 Unicorns of Love Mercedes of Lars Kisser. And Kisser, as we said earlier on in the broadcast, won at this particular circuit on the Endurance Cup last year, is no slouch. And he's just needing to park those rear wide haunches of that Mercedes exactly where he needs to. So he's going to see, or he might be able to, over the last few laps, have understood what James Parker has been doing to try and close in on him. And now he's trying to respond and looking at the lap times. Kisser and Parker are running in the 1:41.5s. No one is giving an inch. No one is taking a mile. And this battle, I think, could rage on for pretty much the remainder of the 28 and a half minutes of this race, David. This has gone past frantically this time.
It certainly has, and I've got to be honest, I really hope it does, because the clever money for these two, for Lars Kisser and for James Parker, is to work together. I know it's never going to happen. That's obviously the case here, but the fact that they're fighting at tooth and nail, I think if James Parker was desperate to get that position, he would have made a dive for it much sooner. He instead is trying to get Lars to get a move on, keep in his toe, keep in contention, and just push him closer towards camera. But the pair of them now dropping off about half a second a lap from camera. I say that, they've done 1:41.2s. It's now down, they're losing out about a tenth of a second, but that gap now, it was coming down rapidly, but Camera now 5.6 seconds ahead of Kisser and Parker. Looking further down the list there, Grigor Ivanov in the 41 Aston Martin, 14th position, and a drive-through for Alex Buncombe as well.
Yeah, incident between cars 777, that is the Sim Racing Masterclass Ferrari 488 of Raymond Mooney, and the 22 McLaren of Alex Buncombe. Drive through for Buncombe for avoidable contact. And that's not what you want in this latter stage of the race, because we've seen what's happened with drive-throughs. Yegor Gorodnikov going from what was it, 5th place down to 27th and stone dead last. An update on the standings here. G2 Esports still on 148 in terms of the live team standings. Alphaspot.com now ahead of Send It Racing. And one of the biggest things here, David, is that it needs to be the core focus on James Parker's mind on how quickly he can get past Lars Kisser, and we know that is not going to be easy. One of the other things I've noticed, David, there is still cloud cover overhead for the next half an hour as per the predicted weather, but also track still optimum. Track temperature has only dropped 2 degrees Celsius.
It's quite a mild night, isn't it? Should get the old virtual barbecue out trackside, because that is a very, very warm night, and the difference that makes to the cars is that they stay on that optimum performance for that little bit longer. It's actually a really good temperature for them, because it's not too hot where they start to overheat the tyres and they get a bit greasy and a bit slidey, and it's not too cold either where the tyres start to marble up and start to lose friction quite dramatically. So, you know, these cars will happily race in these conditions for hours if we would let them, but we only have 25 minutes left to go in this race, and the time's starting to come down again, because Camera in fact, no, he's not in a little bit of traffic, I don't think, because he was just ahead of I think that's the 580. I'll double check that in for a second, but he actually passed that car several laps ago, so he's lost 0.3 of a second on that lap. That brings the time to almost 5 seconds between Camera and Kisser. And again, that doesn't sound a lot, but then the brain work starts to come into play, and you start playing little mind games on yourself and thinking, hang on, he's closing, I need to get a move on. You start overdriving the car, and mistakes start to creep in, and before you know it, you're now in a fight for the lead.
Yeah, well, Arthur Camera has been running consistently in the mid 141. G2 Esports BMW M6 GT3 comes across the line for another lap. That's now going to put us on to lap number 39 of this race, as Damien Pohl is getting closed in on by Sasha Glatter, who takes an absolute wallop of curb going through the second phase of Variante Alta, as Alex Buncombe now serves his drive-through penalty. As yeah, it's so difficult to sort of predict what's going to happen a little bit further back from Camera. And now Lars Kisser has got an advantage, and David Kisser just did a 1 minute 40.992. He's now 1.3 seconds up the road from James Parker, and the biggest loss for James Parker was not just Sector 2, but Sector 3. He lost an absolute bag full of time.
He certainly did, and that was that lap from Lars Kisser. Oh, that was something special. He's got a little bit of a bonus as well, because Arthur Camera now coming up on some lap traffic as well that he's going to have to try and navigate on his way round. I think that is that might be the number 16 possibly. We'll keep an eye on that one, but some lap traffic for your race leader. Meanwhile, back on track, Patrick Pignon trying to catch up to the back of Richard Lindhorst in that 111 Porsche, and there's almost 3 cars going down into Tamburello. This is not going to end well. You've got a Mercedes in the background there as well of Cathy Atkins in the 37 Mercedes. Thinks better of it. The cars spread themselves out, and thankfully, wow, that could have been so risky for the 3 of them, Alex.
Yeah, going through into Villeneuve at nearly 200 kilometres an hour in gear, and Carly Atkins did the right thing, just let off the accelerator, waited, and then regathered himself as they now go through Piratella down into the double right here at Acqua Minerale. And one of the good things here is that even though it might be the weightiest car in the field, the Porsche, you know, Patrick Pignoni from Switzerland is still keeping those, you know, Pignoni in the Audi is trying to keep Richard Lindhorst very, very honest indeed. So it's rear-wheel drive, rear-engined, mid-engined rear-wheel drive, and then front-engined rear-wheel drive. You've got all permutations of drivetrain wonderment here in these 3 cars alone, and this is the battle for what is over 10th position, because now Marcel Fusi in the Sidemax Motorworks 285 Mercedes AMG is now nearly 2.5 seconds up the road. There he is, just going out of shot.
Wild stuff, and we're going to keep our eye on this battle then. 21 minutes left to go in this 3rd race of the season here at the Sim Grid Sprint Cup. Patrick Pignon in that 11th place trying to take 10. They're side by side going down into turn 1. There's a little bit of contact, and the Porsche tries to keep it on the inside, but Patrick Pignon, beautiful move there, takes the Porsche. The Porsche has been absolutely mugged.
Oh, Carly Atkins tried to go around the outside of Patrick Pignoni, going the exit of Tamburello, and then Richard Lindhorst decides to go around the outside of him through Villeneuve. Craziness in a couple of chicanes here at Imola, but Patrick Pignoni did an absolutely brilliant job getting round that corner and nailing it on the inside apex where he needed to, and now he has dropped Pignoni and Atkins. Sorry, Lindhorst and Atkins. So Lindhorst fending off the Mercedes advances, going through into Piratella as Atkins looked up the inside there, thought better of it, said, right, okay, well, let's get through Acqua Minerale first. Well, he's right up the back bumper of the Porsche, going through into the first right-hander, down 2 gears once again, hard on the brakes, scrubbing off a lot of speed. Oh, over the bumps goes Lindhorst, and here comes Carly Atkins. The Mercedes and the Porsche go side by side, heading into Variante Alta, and Carly Atkins from PC Boys Esports gets through and now takes 11th position.
Wow. Well, how to go from hero to zero in the space of a lap. 2 places lost for Richard Lindhorst, and I was saying, trying to hold on with that 111 Porsche, and look at that, just behind is a menacing figure. This is Damien Pavlos, though, trying to hold on to Sasha Glatter. Oh, and Niels van der Kekelt gets a 5-second, 10-second time penalty in the 47, 2.2 seconds up the road, so that is a huge change to that position as well. That's going to knock them well and truly outside of the top 10. And look at Marcel Fusi in the Mercedes, in fact no, that's the Ferrari behind him as well. Cars 81 and 47, so that's Niels van der Kekelt and Sasha Glatter. Aggressive driving is what has caused that penalty, so completely avoidable penalty there for Niels van der Kekelt.
Yeah, but look, you know, Sasha Glatter's not giving up quite yet, as Damien Paulus still keeps ahead in the number 7 Carbon Simsport Blue 720S McLaren GT3. Marcel Fusi making his way through, looks to be into Variante Alta, but you can just see this has got powder keg written all over it as all. That was way too much curb taken by Paulus, and Sasha Glatter was looking to respond and has closed up. He's right in the wheel tracks, goes towards the outside. If he powers past the McLaren before they get to Rivazza, I'll be suitably impressed, but Paulus back up the inside, Glatter keeping it planted. Oh, he runs off onto the gravel and touches a wheel in there and kicks up the dust, but he's right in the wheel tracks of the McLaren as they go across the start-finish line. Oh my goodness me, we're on board the front splitter cam. Look at the amount of scuffing on the back of Paulus's car, but then here comes Sasha Glatter side by side across the line. Glatter is going to get the run into Tamburello. Godzilla might get another kill on this particular occasion. He does. Neatly done, well timed by Sasha Glatter, but was there a little touch from behind courtesy of Paulus? Possibly, couldn't really tell from that angle, but Sasha Glatter from Black Hawk Racing keeping them in what is now 7th position. Great run by them so far.
Yeah, fantastic run there. Sasha Glatter doing the Japanese car very proud indeed, up into that 7th position there. Great move, and honestly that's going to be 6th place quite easily, because Niels van der Kekelt having to take that 10-second penalty, and they are at the moment only 4 seconds behind right now. Back up to give you an update on your race leaders then. Arthur Kammerer comfortably still in the lead, 6.2 seconds ahead of Lars Kisser in 2nd place with that number 14 Unicorns of Love Mercedes. James Parker now trying to catch back onto the tail end of it. The gap was 1.3 seconds between 2nd and 3rd. It then came down to half a second, but Kisser just starting to extend that gap a little bit more just now. And again, Grigor Ivanov in the 41 in 14th place. I mean, that is an amazing recovery drive for Magnum Racing, for the Lada Rosneft team. Great job for them. But I've got a feeling the powder keg analogy you used earlier, Alex, could also be used for 2nd and 3rd place.
Very true, because Lars Kisser, you know, he was about 1.4 seconds from James Parker, but Parker, you know, looking at the last few laps, Parker did a 1:41.7 last time around, Kisser did a 1:41.4, so it can be a bit of a pendulum swing. So you never know what might happen, as Damien Paulus, that's the number 10 car, that is the Omega E Racing Team Ferrari, and there's an update on the points, still the same as what we saw a little bit earlier on here, David. And to be honest with you, the thing is, okay,
That's got Davide Branchini behind the wheel of the number 10. So, you know, the thing is that is not a battle for position. And what Paulus needs to do is focus on Sasha Glatter and try and claw back in on Godzilla.
It's a bit misleading because the number 10, we know they've got the pace to be in the top 10. They obviously got hit with penalties early on through the race, and they're now down in 21st position. So as you pointed out, that this isn't for position. They're already looks like a lap down, but yeah, I mean they've still got the pace to hold in there. But he needs to keep on that battle with Glatter, but I've got to be honest, I think Glatter's got the measure. I think Glatter is just going to tear away now, and Branchini might actually try and unlap himself.
Well, Paulus just lost a second on the previous lap in comparison with Glatter. Glatter did a 142.6, and now again you can see that things that I mean, you know, look at this. I mean, the 285 of Sidemax Motorworks, all right, 6th coming into this round on 66 points. They're, on terms of the live standings, up to 3rd on 112, equal with the points leader coming into this round, who did not finish the race. So it was an early bath for Luke Whitehead and Hermado Urquizy, with the latter not taking the wheel because obviously the DNF for the team because of the terminal damage through that massive contretemps earlier on in the race before the halfway stage bit. And this is where things get interesting. You know, we go to the Hungaroring in 2 weeks' time, David. This story is far from being completely told. There are so many different things we're going to see over the final, you know, the second half of the season, and the tracks that we're going to as well. You know, you've got Zolder, tight, twisty, technical. Suzuka, fast, 130R, only one of 2 FIA Grade 1 listed. Oh, Parker and Kisser come to blows coming out of Rivazza. Oh my goodness me, that was definitely defibrillator time there.
Oh my goodness me, huge moment there. That was Parker up the inside of Rivazza to take that position from Kisser, and Kisser wasn't having any of it, wanted to keep his foot in and try and make sure that he could hold on to that position, but it's down into Tamburello, then into turn 1, and Parker is going to try and hold on to this because Kisser in the toe of that Mercedes. You've got to say this has been coming for a number of laps now. Parker looks to have the pace on that Unicorns of Love car, but this is where he's vulnerable. This is where the danger is. If he can get that move done and make sure that he can drop Kisser, then it's good night Vienna with 13 minutes left to go, and that almost seals the race victory, given that we've got 13 minutes left to go. Kammerer he just doesn't have anyone else on his level right now. Obviously 13 minutes is a long time and anything can happen, but it's looking very, very good for the BMW.
It is indeed. I mean, with a gap of around, 8.3 seconds with 13 minutes still to go, David. The biggest thing is that it is one thing to catch up to somebody. It's another thing altogether to get past, and you know, as the late Murray Walker would say. But now Lars Kisser has got the motivation. He now has a target front and centre, and the bullseye just happens to be the rear end of that 699 Send It Racing Mercedes of James Parker. And we know for a fact that Lars Kisser is not going to squander any opportunity that he gets. But look, Parker has just managed to stretch the legs on that Mercedes, and what's more, the gap is extending, and it was 4.5 tenths of a second as blue flags are waving, as here comes Patrick Pignoni on Marcel Fusi. The Audi has caught up to the non-Evo Mercedes. Oh, down into Piratella and then into the double right-hander. Fusi under extreme pressure from Rutronic E-Racing's Patrick Pignoni from Switzerland as they come through Acqua Minerale, now up to Variante Alta. So Pignoni gets the run on Fusi. When you look at it from the centre of gravity of that Audi in comparison with the Mercedes, the thing is that Pignoni could have the run. You know, it's a downhill slant, and then it's a double left at Rivazza, and that could be the opportunity that Pignoni needs to ramp up towards. But also, we saw earlier with Jardier, when he was battling away with Charlie Crossland and Tobias Grönwald, that the Audi didn't have the legs on the straights, and now Pignoni's starting to flash the lights, and now puts the high beams on Marcel Fusi. So Fusi now definitely knows what's coming.
Yeah, he certainly does, and Fusi he's no stranger to being able to hold his position, but Patrick Pignon, the pace in that Audi is absolutely scandalous that he's got right now, in comparison to the car that's in front of him. Obviously, it doesn't really make any big headwinds when you consider it up to the pace of the top 5, for instance, but I mean, he's got the number of this Mercedes in front of him, the 285 Sidemax Motorworks Mercedes, really having to make itself as wide as it possibly can. And again, you just can't help shaking off the feeling that it is just a matter of time. Patrick Pignon has got the pace, he's got the skill level. It's just a case of whether Fusi is willing to make this or allow for a clean overtake right now, and whether Pignon can actually do it.
Yeah, one of the other things we've got to factor in here now is that the penalty for Niels van der Kerkelt will 8th position, and Van der Kerkelt and Boothby, we saw a stellar comeback from them at Misano 2 weeks ago. That's gonna leave them smarting a little bit. But yeah, it just goes to show that you can't put a foot wrong. With the caliber of drivers that we have, we still have 25 cars. I think, Hosseini is parked, Whitehead is parked. We're down to 25 drive with just 10 minutes to go. I think we're not done yet, David. I think, in my words, which I'll use before you steal it, you ain't seen nothing yet.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. 10 minutes left to go, ladies and gentlemen, then in your third race of the season here in the SimGrid Sprint Cup. I mentioned before, we always say a huge thanks to our commercial partners, and this time it's time to say a huge thank you for Thrustmaster for their continued support. And as you know, I am a complete Thrustmaster fanboy with my new edition. I even commented on or I was away to comment on the SimGrid post this afternoon about the T300 RS. Bought myself one a couple of months ago, and I absolutely love it. The difference is unbelievable. I'm still terrible. I'm still an absolutely woeful SimGrid driver. I'm just a faster terrible SimGrid driver. So it's not going to make you amazing if you don't have the skill to begin with, but it'll at least improve a little bit. So yeah, get yourself one and head over to thrustmaster.com and tell them that we sent you. In the meantime, welcome back, Alex. 8.5 minutes left to go. 699 is under investigation for that overtake on the 14, and I can tell you now, teammates not really happy about that one. Charlie Crossland was voicing his discontent for the 699 Send It Racing in our YouTube chat, so it'll be interesting to see if anything comes of that.
Yeah, very true. I mean, to be honest, it's at the discretion of race control. They're the ones that make the calls. We're the ones that just call the action as we see it. And yes, we do give our opinions, but that's what we do as commentators. But Marcel Fusi, again, being pressurised by Patrick Pignoni. This battle for 9th position, not abating by any stretch of the imagination. And Fusi, I think at the end of the day, he's just trying to hang on to that position. That's all he wants to do, and to keep Pignoni behind him. But that's easier said than done, because you don't know what's the degradation on the Audi, what's the degradation on the Mercedes. Is there one that's going to be stronger in certain parts of the circuit? We've discussed that multiple times during this race. The Audi faster in the twisty stuff. The Mercedes has the legs on it in terms of power and torque delivery. And again, you can just see now going through into Piratella, Pignoni closing up, just turns the car in. It literally just grips and bites down hard onto the tarmac and through into Acqua Minerale. Patrick Pignoni looked briefly up the inside of Marcel Fusi, was too far away, but he knows now that if he had an opportunity to go up the inside of Acqua Minerale, that could have been Really, that could have been either hero or zero within the snap of her fingers. And I don't think Pignoni wants to chance his luck. He wants to do it nice and cleanly. And if he was close enough to, say, get through to Rivazza, where we're heading into now, the double left-hander that brings us onto the start-finish straight, then Fusi has a reason to be worried. But if it's so difficult to sort of really understand what these drivers are doing, how hard are they pushing, what's the map they're running at? Is Pignoni on full throttle, and is Fusi just trying to go a little bit conservative but not wind down the wick on that Mercedes too much in terms of the ECU and the fueling to give Pignoni that opportunity that the 31 from Rouge E-Racing needs?
I just want to take a minute to say congratulations to Colin Corkery, who joined us in YouTube chat, saying he took part in his very first SimGrid daily race today. So congratulations, hope you had an absolute blast. He says it was great fun, and I can confirm they are amazing fun. And of course, they launched this week. They are officially out of beta, so head over to thesimgrid.com, get yourself involved in the daily races that we get on every single day. Wide mix of GT3 and GT4 races every single hour of the day. But let's go to a replay then. This is the Unicorns of Love, and this is the incident under investigation with the 699 and the 14 then. So the 14 in front just now. This is on the run down towards Rivazza. Again, the 14 on the inside of that corner. The 699 gets a better run out of it. A little wiggle from the 14. They're side by side. A little bit of contact there. Yeah, I've got to be honest there. I don't really see anything there. The 14 was compromised on the exit of the first corner of Rivazza. Allowed the 699 to get the inside line.
Pignoni up the inside of Fusi, going through the first point of Rivazza. Sorry to cut across you there, David, but Fusi gets brushed aside again. Now, who was that in front? I think that might have been the 77 of Griphax Engineering. Marcel Fusi, absolutely livid, and rightly so, at the Mercedes that literally barnstormed up the inside of him after Pignoni had done the business. But yeah, coming back to what you were saying about the incident between Parker and Kisser, I mean, Parker was well within his right of way. He was up the inside. He was literally car length to car length. It was like they were side by side, nigh onto the millimetre. And yeah, that looks to me like a little bit of a racing incident, so to speak.
Again, just from the angle that we had very briefly, it looked like, if anything, the 14 was had to try and push to get back on to the circuit. It still had two wheels on the side there, so we'll have another look here. This is from on board the number 14 right now, so we'll get a little bit of an idea. Yeah, see there, compromised on the exit of the corner there. Yeah, I mean, look, if anything, the 699 maybe should have allowed a little bit more room, but he's got the move done. I don't see the incident happened after the move was already done, so yeah, I personally don't see anything there, but yeah, we'll see what the race stewards say about that one.
Yeah, very much the case. I mean, when you look at it, Parker had already sent it up the inside, and by the time the contact happened coming out of Rivazza, Parker was about half a car length ahead. So, effectively, you know, one of the angles I would love to see is obviously, yeah, we got the great helicam shot, but also the onboard from, you know, Lars Kisser. But, you know, looking at where Parker's car was in placement, you know, Parker had neatly done it. He knew there was that window of opportunity to go for second position, and he went for it. And when you go for that kind of gap, you are either going to be fully committed or you're going to back out of it. And James Parker did what he thought was best, and he sent it.
Well, it's by the by, it's with race control just now, but we focus back on the race itself because we are into the dying throes right now. 2 minutes 45 left to go in round 3 of the Sprint Cup Season 3 here at Imola. David Christie and Alex Goldschmidt taking you through the final stages of the race. It's still Artur Kammerer doing an amazing job out front all by himself in the BMW. 8.6 seconds to the good of James Parker in second place in the 699. Send It Racing Mercedes. It's then Lars Kisser in the Unicorns of Love Mercedes in 3rd place in the 14th machine. It's Valentin Barrier for the Jardier Community Audi Racing Machine in 4th place. Thibaut Prost for the 99 GTWR Racing Team in 5th place. Niels van de Kekelt is 6th place on the track, but will finish in 8th place as it stands with that 10-second time penalty at the end of the race. Sasha Glatter for the 81 Blackhawk Racing Team, stunning effort from them, will move up in 6th place. It'll be 7th as it stands for Damien Paulus in the number 7 McLaren of Carbon Simsport Blue. 7th place for Damien. 8th place is going to be Patrick Pignon. It's going to be Niels van de Kekelt, isn't it? Patrick Pignon will get 9th as it stands, and then Callie Atkins in 10th place. But again, a minute and a half for race control to throw a spanner in the works here. Fantastic race we've had here, and Gregor Ivanov moves up another place. We have to say that because they were at the back of the field for the Lada Rosneft Racing Team, and up to 13th. That is a brilliant, brilliant effort. But there is your race leader coming across to start what looks like is going to be his final lap. In fact, he might already be on. No, there we go. So it started just now. But Alex, I mean, what a drive from the BMW from G2 Esports.
Well, when you haven't been talking much about the leader, you know they've done one hell of a job. It literally has been. We had a feeling this was ominous coming into Imola. You know, the BMW had a severe weight penalty at Misano, the full 35 kilos. They were the championship leaders. Things got turned upside down. But now they've brought a bit of balance to where they were originally after round 1 at Snetterton. And it's been a great dynamic drive by both Niles Noyaux and Arthur Camara. And they've switched things up. And that's helped because Noyaux did qualifying, did the first half of the race, and Arthur Camara has just been given the chance of bringing the car home. And we are into the final throws. Just 10 seconds remain on the clock as Marcel Fusi coming under fire now from Richard Lindhorst from alphaspot.com and the 111 Porsche, despite having the most weight, even with additional success ballast coming into this race, 21 kilos for the Porsche. That is quite a Herculean effort. Okay, they're going to be on less ballast for Hungaroring, but the timer, David, has now struck 0.
It certainly has, and we are just on our way down to the final corner just now then. It is the run down the hill. What a drive it has been for Arthur Camara and the G2 Esports team. This is on the way down to Ravazza for the final time. The first of 2 corners here. It's been an exemplary drive for the 62 BMW team, G2 Esports of Arthur Camara and Niles Noyaux. And I'm going to pace myself because it is a later finish line, but it's been an exhibition drive. Nobody has come near them, and it's a race win then for Arthur Camara and Niles Noyaux here on race 3 of the SimGrid Sprint Cup. Second place is going to go to James Parker in the 699s, sharing with Charlie Crossland, ahead of Lars Kisser in the 14 Unicorns of Love machine with Tobias Gronvald. Stunning little battle with them. Valentin Barrier for the Jardier Community Team car in the 39, sharing with Jaroslav Honzig, takes 4th place. It's going to be Thibaut Prost in the 99 GTWR Racing Team, ahead with Andrea Benedetti in 5th place. Niels van de Kekelt is going to come across the line in the 47 UK OG machine with George Boothby. A great performance from them, marred by that 10-second penalty, which will send them down into 8th place, I believe. Sasha Glatter then takes 6th place in the 81 GTR Blackhawk Racing with Chris Sever. It's going to be 7th place then for Damien Pavlos in that 7 at Carbon Simsport Blue. 8th place, as we said, is Niels van de Kekelt. Patrick Pignon, though, in that Audi. What a drive from him in that Rutronic E-Racing machine with Mark Baltzer. And then it is 10th place for Callie Atkins in the 37 Mercedes there. Great drive from them. But oh my goodness me, what a race we've had, Alex, and some stunning results there.
Some stunning overtakes as well. Jardier going around the outside of Tobias Gronvald on Tamburello on the rundown from the start-finish line when we went green. Patrick Pignon send up the inside. It was actually Carly Atkins that got the flash of the headlights, the wrath of Mr. Super Saturday, Marcel Fusi, who ends up in 11th position. You know, we had a great duel. James Parker and Lars Kisser was in there. You know, the jump on the pit stop that unicorns have loved it. They clawed back 1.3 seconds in that pit stop window. They were side by side with Send It Racing coming out of the pit lane, and Valentin Barrier was left standing before he was even moving. So some great drives. I mean, obviously, again, Lada Sport Rosneft, you know, Grigory Ivanov and Igor Ogorodnikov. Yeah, okay, it was unfortunate that the penalty went Igor's way. Obviously, race control have to make that decision, but they knuckled down. They kept going. And despite being 27th and stone dead last, they came back to finish in 13th. Obviously, disaster for 404, you know, H3 Racing, the 404 Ferrari. You know, Luke Whitehead having that moment where he and Felix Ruppert in the number 16 car came together, and then I think next time out in 2 weeks at the Hungaroring, I don't know what to expect, David, but I'm certainly looking forward to it.
Oh boy, that makes two of us, and I'm pretty sure the entire of YouTube and all of social media are going to be looking forward to that one as well. But to round things off then tonight, let's do our interviews with the top teams. From our third place then, we've got the Unicorns of Love. It's Lars Kisser. We'll have a very quick chat with Lars. Lars, good evening. Congratulations on third place. But that was a heck of a fight that you had with the second place team there.
Well, hello, good evening everyone, and thank you. We had a nice fight with James Parker. Our pace was quite even over the whole race, and in the end I struggled a bit with the confidence in the car and was a bit slower than him, so he catch up to us again, and then overtook us in the last corner.
Obviously, with the BMW at such an early stage, with Tobias, the car was just a way off into the distance. What was the chat like on voice?
Well, we expected to at least be in front of them in the qualifying. Like, we knew it would be close in the race then, and as it turned out, like, Tobias wasn't really happy with the qualifying lap, so we only came third in qualifying, and then we couldn't keep up with Niels and Arthur at all. Like, they've been gone. They've had an insane pace in the BMW, and we just been slow at this time.
Obviously, that's not exactly the result you would have wanted. I'm sure you would have wanted the win, but third place for the championship is still a decent outcome. Looking forward to the final 3 rounds at Hungaroring, Zolder and Suzuka. Is there any of those 3 races that you particularly like?
Well, Suzuka is a nice track, and the AMG works there perfectly as well, so we hope that we can at least attack there again. For the other races, we hope to be at least at the front as well. Excellent. Or at least in midfield.
Well, Lars Kisser, and thank you very much for joining us in the commentary booth then for the number 14 Unicorns of Love. And just before you do go, I've got to say we have to pass on our compliments from the virtual commentary box. We absolutely love the livery on that car. It looks amazing.
Well, these comments have to go to Rene Sievert. He's our manager, and he also does the skins, and they really look insanely good. We love them as well.
Well, best of luck for the remaining rounds, and we'll see you in round 4.
Yeah, thank you.
There we go, Lars Kisser there from Unicorns of Love. Right, next up then, let's speak to the 699 Send It Racing team of James Parker and Charlie Crossland. So we'll bring both of those in just now. But James and Charlie, good evening, gentlemen. Second place, and given the G2 Esports BMW obviously had some sort of jetpack on it, I guess you must be fairly happy with second place.
Yeah, I think so. I had no expectations going into the race because I knew it would be close between us two, but Charlie had a few issues with his tyres in the first stint, which kind of put us out of reach. And second place is fine. Obviously, Lars made us work hard for it. I have no idea how they jumped us in the stops. That pit stop was insane by them. And yeah, just settle for second really, because the ballast game is going to yo-yo us up and down, naturally. So we'll take it.
Charlie, to yourself, I mean, that was an incredible first stint from yourself. You were fighting tooth and nail, but how frustrating was it watching that BMW just absolutely tear away?
It wasn't really that frustrating because I just knew it was just my fault that I wasn't that fast. So I just wasn't consistent, and Niels was, and that was just the difference.
So, looking forward to the final 3 rounds, guys. Obviously, the championship has to be front and centre of your mind. What is going to be the method of attack going into the final 3 rounds? Are you going to be keeping it nice and safe, or is it all guns blazing?
Well, we tried to keep it nice and safe at Mazzano and got torpedoed by someone. So, the aim will be to try and stay safe for Hungary and get amongst the Ferraris that will be unballasted again. Try and get a top 10 maybe in quali and get some good points. Because obviously the G2 BMW is going to be very they're going to struggle a lot at Hungaroring. So if we can have a better race than them by a good chunk, for Zolder, when things equalise again, we should be hopefully much closer in the championship.
Well, Charlie Crossland, James Parker from the 699 Sendit Racing Team, best of luck for the remaining rounds. We'll see you in round 4.
Alright, take care, David. See you later.
There we go, that's James and Charlie. Let's bring in your race winners then. The 62 BMW Team G2 Esports of Niels Noyox and Arthur Kammerer. And I've got to be honest, boys, Arthur and Niels, thanks for joining us tonight. You guys made that look so easy. We're going to have to rip that car apart in post-race scrutineering, because we're all convinced here that you had some sort of NOS button on that car.
Oh, it's called a turbocharger. They built those in Munich. They're quite large and give you a lot of power. Oh, there you go. You found it.
So twice the power. But look, joking aside, I mean, firstly, we've got to take our hats off to you for yourself, Niels. That was an amazing first stint. And Arthur, obviously, getting that lead, a 10-second lead handed to you, is a massive amount of responsibility, and you handled it so well. Niels, we'll come to you first. I mean, at what point did you realise, hang on, I've got this?
So it started well with having pole position in the 39th as the only car. So this was probably one of the better laps I did. And I knew, it was going into the last sector, and having done the chicane, I knew, okay, the delta's looking good. I won't have fuel to come back to the pits, but I think I have to take this one. So I crossed the line with 2 liters left, and then had to abandon the qualifying there. Then it was initially Charlie was super fast in the Mercedes as well, but I noticed every couple laps he had a small mistake in there and felt like he was pushing a lot, collected off track. I could see it in the mirror, so I was sure at some point he would crack a bit here and there, and eventually he did. And then they got fighting. I think Jadia had an awesome stream, I guess, and then was like 10-11 seconds into the pits, overshot my pit box a bit, so lost a bit of that gap, but I think handed Arthur just about enough to be comfortable.
And Arthur, going to yourself, you come out the pits, you're about 8 seconds ahead, and then suddenly James Parker starts bringing that gap down to about 5 seconds. Was there any panic at all?
No, I think that was just down to the fact that the last thing I practiced was driving on a wet track, and it took me 2 or 3 laps just to get the feel for the car again in the dry, because the setup was, setups wise, it was quite a bit different, and that just took me a couple laps, and once I got my first 41 low in, I knew I could build on that, and I got more and more consistent, and I think I even drove away again. So but definitely that lead given to me was a bit of time that I needed just to get used to it again, but after all, just happy.
And we'll come to your thoughts on the rest of the season in just a second. We'll take a little bit of a digression just now, because one of your fellow Sprint Cup racers, you'll probably have been aware of this in the YouTube chat, and made a bet against anyone but the Mercedes winning tonight, so much so that they were willing to get a tattoo on a part of their body, and yous have put your part into making sure that actually has to happen. So what's your thoughts on Aller Kensling and his bets?
Interesting one.
Yeah, you go ahead.
To say the least. Yeah, I'm curious to see if we get any voting rights on what it will be that he get.
Oh, he said. I'm sure he said it was an AMG, but I think we can maybe suggest, Arthur, that it's you that does the tattoo. So we'll see if we can get that organised. But joking aside, guys, obviously it puts you in a great position for the remainder of the championship. 3 races to go. We've asked a couple of teams this already. What's the plan for the rest of the season now? Do you knuckle down and think about the championship, take safe and steady results, or are you just going all out for it?
So I think next race is going to be, well, we don't have results that don't count, sadly, but this one is certainly going to be a little bad for us. Probably one of the worst tracks for the BMW to begin with, and then we get extra 30-something kilos or so. So we're aiming at a top 30 result or so, I think. And this should bring up our chances again for Zolder afterwards. Should be something, I don't know, we'll see. Top 5 result or something could be a target there. And then have somewhat of a good car for Suzuka. It's very hard to predict how this will go, because it depends so much where the other cars finish, how much weight they're going to have in the races that count at the end of the day. I think right now we're in a good spot because we should be leading the championship, I guess. Never in a bad place.
Well, it's always a great way to leave a championship round. Niles Noyox and Arthur Kammerer, thank you very much for blowing the championship wide open tonight. Best of luck, and we'll look forward to seeing you in round 4.
Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.
So there we go, Niles Noyox and Arthur Kammerer and Alex. An amazing night of action here at the virtual recreation of Imola. Race 3 was an absolute cracker.
And look, the rain held off right until the checkered flag. Look, it's absolutely teeing it down here.
You know what? That's because I mentioned the barbecue that we were going to have after the race as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, the action doesn't stop here on the sim grid, because just a couple of days' time, Super Saturday returns. And we're going to have quite a bit of action. The GT4 Cup, the Ferrari Challenge, the BMW M4 GT Challenge, and also the penultimate round of Best of British at Brands Hatch GP. We've also got some really interesting one-off events. So if you head to pitstopthesimgrid.com, you'll actually find out that in just a week's time, there will be the Economy Challenge. And this is something that you and I were talking about before we went live on air. It's at Kyalami. It's an 80-minute race, 2 sets of tyres per vehicle, and they have to brim the tank. And they can't refuel. Refueling is not allowed. We've also got the Battle of the Outcasts, which will be both the classic Jaguar versus the Reiter Engineering RX3, what is based on effectively a Lamborghini Gallardo, the 29th of April. And then also a week after Brands Hatch, we'll have another Super Saturday, and that will be at Snetterton with the Bentley Challenge. So the GT3 Continentals go in, as well as the GT4 Cups and the Lamborghini Super Trofeos. And then it is the 5th and final round of Best of British at Snetterton. To be honest with you, we've had the SimGrid VCO World Cup kick off at Bathurst. That was a fantastic event. And there's more to come here on SimGrid. Also, don't forget to head to our good friends at Coach Dave Academy. You can get all your relevant setups. You can have sim coaching, ACC setups, track maps. You can have really, really bona fide professionals helping you out, such as the likes of Jordan Pepper, the main man behind SimGrid himself, Dave Perel, amongst others. And what's more, as you can always do, is head to our social medias and also make sure that you follow and also retweet, share. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to give this video a like, hit the subscribe button, and what's more, hit the notification bell so you get to know exactly when every single broadcast here on the SimGrid goes live.
Right, well, with the weather changing and my barbecue being ruined, I'm off to find a burger van. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. As always, thanks to Thrustmaster and to Coach Dave Academy for their support. And thanks to our production team behind the scenes of Mike Yao and Michael Hamlet. And finally, thank you to you at home for watching us. I've been David Christie. He's been Alex Goldschmidt. Until next time, have a safe night and we'll see you soon.
Good night, folks.